Okay, go whenever.
Jessica, you've been in the yard at Pine Hedge with the other squires, pages, and men, seeing to the gear and horses of your lord's retinue, and your own chores, the last of which, as the afternoon wanes, is the cleaning of the gear got in the battle with Sir Anders. And you're wiping off the dried blood and detritus from his blade, greaves, and putting them aside with the other gear to be oiled and stacked away in the wain. Daleb's there working alongside you, and he'll quickly dust off his hands and step upright when Sir Garin looms into the firelight and nods to you both. Jessica, when you've finished that, you're to the kitchens to take food to your brother in the rookery. I'm for the town, he says, and looks beyond the open gate. I will return by morn, Daleb. And then you can tell he's already been in his cups. He kind of turns, considering that order will be carried out, and walks off through the flow of men and soldiers down the thoroughfare towards the town. And Daleb looks to you, and the last of the chores, and as many like servants do, you would have done this as well. He takes to the task all the more vigorously, knowing that this pretty much equates to having his own time. Now that his lord is gone, and he gives like a rare smile to you, like looks around nervously first to see that no lords or ladies are looking, and gives a smile to you as he eagerly takes to the last of the work alongside you. He spits on a pauldron and then like tarnishes it with a cloth.
Just grins and says, "Now make sure you finish all of your chores before you go and start causing mischief."
I won't cause mischief, Jess, but they say there are men who'll throw bones and dice by the night fires.
Well, I suppose gambling is a sort of mischief. And she leans
Sir
in.
Garin gambles.
Does he now? She leans in and says, "I was encouraging you to have some mischief, Caleb."
I will, he says impishly. I'll see to that if you wish, Jess. And he points to the blade.
Yeah, he says that as he sees her sort of looking longingly up to the rookery, distracted, in contrast to him doubling down on his tasks to get to his own free time. So she nods and just hands the sword in her hand over to him, and nods and sort of skips away or rushes away to go head up to over to the kitchens to get the food, and then up to the rookery to see Ronald, see how he's doing.
Pass out of the yard and around the curtain, where like the main gate is, and sported out the front of it, watching the falling sun, is a man clasped in the stocks. He's been pelted with rotted things and manure, and kind of like two white eyes look up through his like macabre appearance of emaciation, exposure, and being treated so. Water, food, please, he calls as he hears your footsteps, turning his head as much as he's able by the oaken clasp. Please, girl.
And she would have seen him before, passed him before, I imagine, in the short time here.
You haven't passed him, but you've heard of this man who's classed in the stocks. There was great talk about it yesterday. And maybe have not wanted to veer this way, but these orders say you must.
Yeah, I think she has been had a curiosity about wanting to come and see him, but not necessarily up close. So she gives him a wide berth and sort of slows and looks at him with this curiosity. And I think she instinctively, when he calls for some food, reaches to the pouch at her waist where she usually carries some bits of dried meat as treats for Fish, her dog back home. And I think maybe all she would do for now is flick a couple of those little pieces of dried meat to him, trying to get them into reach where he could grab them. But I suppose if he's in the stock, then he probably can't.
Yeah,
so
they fall to
maybe,
the mud before him, and piteously he like moans, seeing the food in the muck. Oh,
yeah, I think a feeling of pity sort of comes over her face and regret as to why she approached the situation that way. But I think she looks up to the rookery. Looks over to the kitchen where she's meant to be heading, and then up towards the rookery tower. He's not going anywhere, she says to herself, and comes over and plucks the morsels from the mud.
hey, girl! Two woad men in chain appear out of the gloom. Watch yourself. He's a raper, that one. One swings a lantern, the other swings a leer as they like step forward, kind of expecting that their words will move you along. And he looks down at the food with tears in his eyes.
Her eyes widen at the knowledge of what this man has done. And the thought goes through her that, yeah, well, clearly he deserves to be in the position he's in. Does he deserve to starve? She thinks to herself, and says as much to the guard. He's wasting away. Would you have him die on your watch?
I care not for him. The crows will have him one way or another.
Then it makes no matter. If I give him a morsel, surely.
Give him your charity and move on, girl.
She just nods and immediately, I guess you would have to just pop the morsels into the man's dried mouth.
Oh, it's not true. Thank you. I'm not that. Like some of it falls out with spittle, and other he like swallows it down eagerly, gulping like a chick.
Yeah, and she does it in that ginger kind of way where she gets it close and then kind of throws it a little bit. She doesn't want to get bitten or anything like that, you know. But she says, "What's your name?"
Barrett Rivers, lady. Thank you.
And she
I was
quickly looks back.
stableman of Sir Enric Lynch. His wife, the Lady Eldrith, and I, we and he like goes to speak further, and the man says, "Girl, move along there."
She looks over her shoulder and nods to the guard. Well, Barrett Rivers. My name's Jessica Rivers. So we have something in common. She gives a piteous smile and just rushes along. I think she just leaves him at that. But she keeps him in mind as she heads to the kitchen.
Bless you, he calls as you disappear off to your duty.
And there, she can't get his face out of her mind as she heads to the kitchen where there's no shortage of food and water, you know.
The aging Maester Jerris looks up at you, Oster, through a pair of crescent moon Tyroshi spectacles as he ditters and shambles about you. No small acumen, sir. No small acumen at all. You should consider taking the chain. Your brother's convalescence is aided much by you. He points to the table where Ronald snores.
Yes, a path now closed to me, unfortunately. For my duties keep me busy at Swansong.
Oh, I see, of course. All seems well, he says, washing his hands in a bowl and then like using a clean index finger to prop his spectacles back up properly on the crook of his nose.
Yes. I would have to comment on your rookery, Maester. Your birds are quite fine and well taken care of.
Oh, my thanks. And I can see you are a literate man. Feel free to read any of those tomes there. He points to two of the three bookshelves of his humble but well-kept rookery here.
Yeah, I perused the books. Where did you get this one on the history of Doran?
Bless my predecessor. Through much urging, he had it sent up from the Citadel. It cost to Pine Hedge, but history is priceless in the long run. He looks with a smile to you for reassurance at his statement.
Yeah, I return it in kind. Yes, I wish more of our people would read history and take the lessons to heart. Perhaps troubles we would not find ourselves in.
Indeed, you have a mind for strategy as well.
Yes, I didn't waste my days at the Citadel. They were short in comparison, Maester, but the lessons well learned.
I see, he says, and his demeanor somewhat changes, and though he allows you to continue looking at his books, he kind of ends the conversation, moving over to clean-handedly now, like take a swab and salve at the wound down the front of Ronald's chest, and he like as he and like tabs and dabs upon the wound, and the image of that milkmaid disappears from the dream, Ronald, and searingly you're brought back into your surroundings, the familiar boring binding rookery again, and that wretched old reeking man pottering about you, saying, good, good, as always.
Yeah, it like never stops. And it's always like at a pleasant part of the dream. And then I wake up and see this like hideous, ancient, wheezing man, and sort of come to my realization of where I am. And then a second later, the pain like returns, and I like curse him for like the 100th time for waking me up again.
Ah, my lord. Soon food will come, and you must eat for your strength. And I will have milk of the poppy for you when it comes to ease your pain.
It's not so bad. How long until I can stand again?
I would not advise that for several days. You must rest for a week, or a 10-day preferably. You should not ride for a fortnight at least. You will reopen the wound, though it's a wound better taken in youth than in age.
I've always been lucky, I suppose.
Yes, by inches, my lord.
Well, it'll make a good scar, I suppose.
Impressive if you live from it, lord, but if you move it and reopen my work, it may fester and you may succumb.
I suppose I better then not open it. Is there something that you need? Do I need to move?
Yes, lay still, please, and he'll tend to the last of his dabbing and swathing. It stings and sears, but kind of in that good way that you've come to know means like it's better for you in the long run. Like pain means a reward. And once he's happy enough, he will urge Oster over to help him, like prop you back up with as like gentle care as possible, in time so that when like a door knocks and a guard admits a servant who's revealed to be Jess, you can take your meal. Carrying on a wooden tray in front of her There's a bowl which sloshes with goose and wild onion soup. There's a hunk of soft, fresh bread flecked with wild rosemary, some jellied raspberries, and a flagon of warm milk spiced with nutmeg that Maester Jerris will take and put in a few drops of milk of the poppy while the three of you reunite.
He'll like look at Oster and say, "Well, what do you think? How long?"
I wish I was a lord, so I could kick this cad out of here while he treats you. These stitchers are amateur at best. But another couple days, and you should be able to travel.
That's good. And he like goes to like shove some food into his mouth and like starts to chew, and like he's frowning the whole time because like the movement it was quite painful. Have you gotten into any trouble here, Jess?
She gives a very quick, immediate shake of the head. No, Lord.
Well, that's good.
Caleb and I have been doing our chores, Lord. Lord brother, she says, sort of fumbling over her words as she often does in your presence. So Karen, he's left for town. And so Caleb will be under my watch in his absence, she says, with a little sidelong glance at you to see how you take that.
I think he'd be like a little annoyed that Garen is not here. Like I know we're in like a family residence, but even so, like his job is to make sure that we're safe. So he'd probably frown at that. And then like try and struggle to like swallow some of the soup. Well, if you can keep running interference and ensure that my aunt doesn't come in here, that would be much appreciated.
Yes, Lord. I'm glad that you avoided having to speak with her too much so far.
It's exhausting at the best of times, and I think could be more troublesome for my wound than even riding a horse.
Well, the rest of us suffer it well enough to keep her from you.
Yes.
Have you thought about what you'll say to Lord Preston when you return? He will not be pleased.
Pleased?
Well, that his son and heir lies wounded at his aunt's.
I won't be wounded
sisters.
long. He might think that it's a good thing. It might teach me humility, something like that. Seems like the kind of thing he would say. Because when I tell him I charged up the hill and then got smashed down in one hit, I think he'll say, "That's a lesson well learned, son."
Well, you were brave.
That's never been a problem for me. It's the follow-up, really.
You would be proud of your brother.
What has he done?
Well, during the battle.
Ah, yes. I thought he had
Have you told him?
done something impressive. No, I hadn't really spoken with him.
Ah, here, my lord, says Maester Jerris, and he moves over with the milk and nutmeg and poppy, and bids you like take a swill of it.
Yeah, I'll like push it to the side for a minute. I'd like to stay awake for a little bit first. I'll drink it when I'm ready.
As you wish, my lord, and he'll like place it down, stop at the flagon on the tray before you. And he'll withdraw again to give you some measure of privacy. A raven squawks at the back of the rookery.
So I've been taking milk and poppy while I've been here, I assume, like, to stop me from screaming.
For the pain.
Yeah. I guess I would say we need to send word home that we'll be late. We won't be making it in time. I'll be spending some days here. Or that I will. There's no need for all of us to stay here.
Are you sure that is wise?
I don't know. He says it just like a little bit too quickly and like sort of resigned to like he doesn't know anything. He's just in bits, lying in the bed. I suppose there's nothing too pressing at home.
I always felt our strength came when we were together. We left, we should perhaps consider returning together, but it is as you wish.
Maybe you're right. We should just wait. We'll see if you can busy yourselves with something while you're here then. I have a lot of sitting around and lying around to do.
Yes. Maester, have you prepared that list of wounded small folk that you wanted me to look at?
I would be much obliged, sir, of course, yes, if you've the time and leave by your lord.
Yes, he seems to be getting on quite well with your care, Maester.
Yes, yeah. Could I suggest, my lord, a tome to read while you convalesce? And he's asked you this before, I guess, probably to no success.
Yeah, he'll like pinch the bridge of his nose. Yes, do you have anything exciting?
Well, I hazard I'm correct in assuming you are named so from your forebear, the famous Ronald the Red, who is known even in these parts.
That's right, yes.
I have a history of the Riverlands, 2 chapters of which mention his exploits. Not in great detail, sir, but to see one's kin's name written down in history is quite a feeling, sir. But I suggested, and he'll like already like be shambling over towards the bookshelf with that ancient inertia that's like undeniable after he's kind of said, and he'll begin fumbling for it to bring it over to you.
Yeah, it'll keep me entertained for a bit, and then I'll read, I guess, until the pain starts coming back very powerfully, and then I'll drink the milk and go to sleep.
I see you've been hard at work, Willem. Your father would be proud. You'll earn your spurs in no time, says Aunt Beatrice, and she'll raise a glass of Arbor Gold. And so does her son, your cousin Willis, and her knight Sir Enric, and his lady Eldrith, at the Lady Beatrice's words. You'll forgive my husband's absence, of course. He is about his lordly duties, but you and yours have my hall as long as you need. I hear pray that Ronald is doing well. That is good. And she'll taste the wine and set it down before you, Willem.
Yeah, I'll lift a cup as well. Yes, thank you, Aunt. Thank you for your recommendation of trails to ride in the surrounds here. It's a beautiful place.
Indeed, it has swelled my heart to see you boys under my skirts once more. Pinehedge has much to offer, and you and yours have always been welcome to it. Tell me earnestly, how is your father, Willem?
He has seen better days, that's for sure, but I'm sure he will recover from this illness as he has recovered from those in the past. I will be glad to see him again, though, upon our return.
Yes, I'm sure. Willie tells me that you're to be matched with Eileen at Helmscrest. A fine thing indeed. I find the younger, better, more pliant maid amiable to your house and mine than that vampish common sort of her elder. Sylvie was her name. She turns to her, so Enrica gives a grave nod. Eldrith just looks at her, hands folded before her untouched meal.
Yes, Sylvie, that is correct. She is a lovely maiden. And Willem's sort of looking around the table to see if anyone else is going to help him in starting a different conversation.
Eldrith is downcast and does not make much eye contact with anyone at the table, and her most common kind of phrase is, "As you say, my lord or lady." Enric merely agrees with Beatrice, and Willis reddens or bristles like a hedgehog whenever his mother calls him Willie in front of the knight he's squired to, and his older cousin who things seem to come effortlessly for, where he has to strive for them. So I guess he's kind of everyone's uncomfortable in their way, as you are, except Beatrice, who's doing masterfully.
Yes, the Maester says Ronald will recover shortly, and we will have to be on our way.
She frowns and pouts. Indeed, too soon for my liking, and then flashes that weird auntish smile at her own words and at the coming of the suckling pig, apple in mouth, laid down on a platter of mashed neeps and spread over with sliced radishes. And she clasps her hands together as it's doled out by the servants, and a considerable portion hunked out for your pleasure. And over mouthfuls of it, she will ask, "Will you go south at in Summertide to the capital for the prince's tourney? You may find honour and glory enough there to earn your spurs, Willem."
Yes, indeed. That is my hope.
"And who shall you squire to, my lord?" says Sir Enric. "Only a knight can knight a knight."
Just out of character, Nico, what would be the go there? Because I'm a noble. Who would a noble be squired to? Like my brother, or?
Yeah, any knight, anyone who is knighted.
But is there a custom for? I guess maybe my father would choose. Doesn't seem like
if you
something.
don't choose before him.
Yeah, okay. It doesn't seem like something I would just be go up to someone and ask them. But Ronald could do so? He's knighted?
Yeah, he could do so for sure, though people would speak.
Would they? Is that a weird thing?
Not too weird, but weird enough that people would speak. Some people would speak.
I guess we would have, what's that Master of Arms back at...
Yeah, the much hated, what was his name? Aric Blackthorn, I believe. Yeah, Sir Aric Blackthorn, the Master at Arms.
Yeah, he was my rival in that in that thing. Yeah, so I guess Willem sort of doesn't really answer and just sort of continues eating and looks around, breaks eye contact and looks around a bit and has a drink and then looks back but doesn't respond.
There's idle chatter, mainly of Beatrix's conjuring, as the meal goes on, and once it's done, and some lemon tarts are brought out with a different vintage of Arbor Gold, while she speaks to an agreeable Sir Enric and nonchalant Lady Eldrith. Cousin Willis will turn across the table to you. "Do you still play Sivas, cousin? Shall we?" He looks uncomfortably towards his mum, who's like, "Oh yes," I'm in conversation with them down the table.
Yes, indeed.
He'll move away from the food and let servants swoop in to take it all away, and from a side cabinet produce the kit and pieces and lay them down before you, and gesture to you to go first as his guest.
Yeah, I will have tried not to hurry away from the table and my babbling aunt. I'll lay the first piece.
Yeah, so roll your deception against his insight, and we'll compare the difference. So
Doke.
12
Ooh,
is his
I only
insight.
got a 6.
So -6. And now his deception against your insight. 14.
Wow, I'm fucking terrible at this. 9.
Yeah, you think you have it won, and then all of a sudden his last elephant moves across, smashing your dragon, and then sending the other pieces about it into a rout not long before, with his forces recombined, that is shattered your pieces around and extends his hand to clasp your own. Oh, good game, cousin. That's twice now I've bested you, but we should play more often.
Yeah, I'll clasp it firmly and sort of smile for the first time that evening. You were quite masterful at this. Yes, I would love another chance to best you.
I too will go south with mother and father's blessing to see what the Prince's tourney holds for me. Mayhaps I'll see you there. If so, perhaps a game then.
Yes, I hope so, and I look forward to it.
If only I were better in the lists than at the Cyvas board, he rues.
There are merits to both. Do not look down upon the gifts you have been given.
Not if you ask mother, and if that, like, at that, it's kind of like he invokes her, and she turns. Are you playing that silly game again, Willie? Come here and tell Sir Enric about. And he kind of gives you that look as he like steps away from all the fallen pieces, but for his own elephant and a few resolute knights.
Yeah, I'll return that the same look he gives me, and then I'll study the board for a moment before returning to the table.
Jessica, you left Ronald snoring, dreaming of the milkmaid, and Oster to his wiles in the rookery, and made your way back down the castle of Pinehedge and its village beyond, now blanketed by a warm summer evening. You make your way past guards and servants who've grown accustomed to you, and perhaps with nightfall you can slip by without seeing the stocked man, if it's your wish.
Yeah, definitely. She would want to go and visit him at night, see if he's still there. And all the while, after she's leaving, she's thinking of the stories that she was listening to Ronald read while she was still in the room, just before he took his milk of the poppy, as she tried to make the most of that time that she could grasp being there with her brother. It's quite rare, given the circumstances, him being the Lord and her being the bastard. And so she's filled with this kind of awe and inspiration, I suppose, of the stories of Ronald the Red. His ancestor, but hers as well, by the blood of their father. So she's kind of, even though she's 20 years old, she's very sort of young at heart and a bit immature. So she's making a bit of a game of it, I suppose, of avoiding the guards and the servants and things at night, and making her way to see if this man is still in the stock.
He's humming some tune with a croaky voice. He like summons some words to add to it, but they're mournful and inaudible to you. The tone conveys like the heart of his lament. But it ceases when he hears your footsteps growing close. He doesn't know them to be yours, but chances that they might be charitable. Please, food, water, please.
She picks up the tune he left it off, where he broke it off to beg some more. She steps out into his view, into the I assume very dim and flickering light from a nearby torch or something like that, or lantern, or maybe she's holding a torch herself now that she's made her way here and doesn't have to be so hidden. She finishes that tune and says, "Here, I brought you some water this time."
He'll slurp it down greedily, thanking you, spilling precious bits of it. He'll cough and splutter, and for a moment you think you hear the sounds of footsteps growing close from beyond, but whoever they belong to passes on beyond. Thank you, girl. Bless you.
Well, we'll see how kindly the seven and the father look upon this, giving such kindness to a criminal. But Barrett, I can't help but wonder if that's what you truly are.
Girl, make no mistake. I am a sinner, but I'm no criminal, and I'm no raper, as they say. I was stableman to Sir Enric Lynch. His wife, Lady Eldrith, and I, we fell in love. And when we were caught at our act, she cried rape, and Sir Enric set his dogs upon me, and I was hauled to these stocks. When the crows come with their cages, I'll go north to the wall. It will be the black for me if I do not starve here. But I'm no criminal. And he swallows and looks greedily towards the water flagon.
Better the black than the endless black, she says, giving him another sip.
True enough, he'll say before.
That's so unfair. So you think Lady Eldrith still loves you?
No, he says, not being able to meet your eyes, and like his body enriched with the gift water, like now tears begin to well in his eyes where he might not before been able to summon them. He swallows hard and says, "How could she? She abandoned me, accursed me."
Perhaps she was afraid of what would happen to you and to her. Although I suppose that didn't help what's happening to you.
If it means she will live, I will bear it, even though I might hate her, he says, almost spitting. If you don't believe me, speak with her, and then call me a liar, girl.
She nods slowly as she pulls out another couple of morsels of dried meat and pops them into his mouth. I will speak with her. How long do you have until you're taken for the crows?
Who knows, and who can say? They come when they will. I may be here many a moon.
And she looks around incredulously. They mean to keep you in here until then.
It is Sir Enric's will. He would accept nothing less. He wished to take my hands and my member first, but I was spared that by Lady Beatrice, who said my parts may be better served at the wall. To her alone, he agrees. He is her dog. He is a dog. And if I had my hands upon him, well, then I would be a criminal, girl.
Does he treat her so poorly, Barrett?
He turns his grimy face to look at your own. If her words can be believed, though she is proven a liar.
Not all lies come from the same place, in my experience. A rare nugget of sort of wisdom, life experience from this quite naive girl. And then she contrastingly, she follows that up with genuine interest in this question. now that she's got eye contact with this man. What's it like to be in love?
A beautiful pain, girl. You can't ignore it, and to feed it is joy. Joy that you cannot know or describe from any other thing. Foaling a mare or raising a hound. Swimming with a friend. None of these things. None of these things are like love. You'll know it, girl, when it strikes you. And like as he says strikes, he gesticulates with his stocked hands. As much as he's able.
I think I understand. I think I understand how you can love and hate someone at the same time. I've not experienced that yet. I'm sorry to see you suffer, Barrett. And for my part, I will see that you do not waste away in this stock as long as I'm here while you're waiting for the Black Brothers to come calling.
Seven's blessing to you, girl. May kind love find you. And then he hears like the march of like tramping feet beyond and gives a worried look to you.
Yeah, she gives one more hurried gulp of water to him from her water skin, and then claps him on the. I guess because he's in the stock, I guess she kind of sort of touches him tenderly on the cheek, I suppose, and then rushes away, melts away into the night.
Oh, thank you so much, my lord, for coming, says the old woman as she lets you in under the awning, Oster, and into the small warmth of her home. There's a woman a decade or more younger than her, weeping over a pallet where a sickly youth lies. There's 3 grubby-faced children, one still a toddler. The eldest is a boy of 11 or so. He's quiet, grimy-faced, and too skinny as he eyes you like a guard would. As you approach the stricken lad, the old woman falls in behind you. "'Tis my grandson, lord. He's ill with the summer fever."
And how long has he been like this?
"A half week. It started with an itching and retching in his throat, lord, and then these." And she pulls the covering aside, and you can see like rash and deterioration of like the flesh around his lips. And the mother like sets to sobbing and wailing at this as if it's like new pain revealed. The young girl winces, and the baby sets to squalling as well. The boy takes a step forward, like instinctively protective of his younger ailing brother at this stranger's approach.
Settle. I'm here to help. Has anyone else experienced this? I look about for like signs, like early signs, something that may not be picked up, but would give
No.
okay.
None of the others display symptoms, and the old woman shakes her head, tutting, "No, but the lad's father died of summer fever last year."
Okay. What do I know of it?
A fever that comes after the thaw. The small folk think it's attributed to all manner of like superstitions and local ghosts or domestic beliefs. But from your time at the Citadel, you learned that it's likely that insects or vermin or both carried diseases born out of like the sitting water in these like lush and verdant lands, and that it like strikes the sickest, weakest folk first, which are usually the small folk after winter. So you've heard of this. Definitely, it's common enough in the middle parts of Westeros.
Okay, so is the most common treatment would be what? Just to keep the boys healthy as possible, and hopefully
make a medicine check.
Sure. 21, 17 on the dice.
Yeah, using things from Maester Jerris's rookery and stuff that you might have upon your person with time, you could set to making concoctions and seeing personally to the care of the boy. Usually in a capacity, like in this capacity outside of Swan Song, you'd be expecting coin in like the dozens of silver stags for this kind of administration, which is like close or comparable to that of a Maester. for these small folk. So yes, you could with time and resource that would be costly and covered by you if no one else.
Do any of them work in the castle or the holdfast?
No, they're folk without of the castle who you've been seeing to. Sorry, that list.
So no one on that list works in the castle.
Oh, there would be, but not in this current hovel, this current situation.
Gotcha. What would be?
You've seen other people on the list. These are kind of like the last for the evening.
What would be the chances they could follow if I like wrote them instructions?
They cannot read, sire.
I say, yes. Well, let me just dispel the ideas that this is some sort of witchcraft or punishment from the gods, but rather this boy was stricken by some type of rat or insect that carried the disease, and now he has it himself. I will be here a few days, and I'll see what I can to minister to the boy's care. But I tell you to keep his area clean. Give him cold, fresh water. Try to keep his fever down. And I will check on him in the following days.
Thank you, my lord. You must save him. You must, says the woman, speaking for the first time now and clutching at your robes.
And of course, pray.
We have no money, nothing to give you, sire, for your charity.
Your gratitude is enough. Thank you.
She looks ashamed and like desperate as she looks around at her hovel. We've not even food to offer you guest rights, my lord.
Yeah, I'm looking around, and it's pity that reaches and turns Oster's heart. You know, that it's not out of. He feels it's a lack of knowledge here that these people are in this situation. And probably, in a good part, greed. And he says, I'll take no payment, but make known that it is dangerous to drink from water that is contaminated. Try to find the freshest water you can. This is a disease that can be passed. So be careful. I would hate to have it claim others in your family.
The old woman and her daughter nod. The children stare mutely. The baby still cries. They all seem immune to it, though it's piercing to you.
Say, why is there not enough? Is there not enough work? Why do you live in such squalor?
Roger died, and Roger drank, and when he died of the summer sickness last year, says the woman, not being able to meet your eyes and just looking at the molten shutters. When his debts came up for the lads, it were paid by what we'd stowed away, and with nothing we had hard toil for the lady. Aye, and we were paid for that. But it's not enough for what's left, or what Roger did to us. Damn him to that, she goes to say, and the grandmother interjects, quiet now, and not in front of the children.
Roger, your late husband, I presume.
The woman goes to make a striking gesture, but then is cradled by her grandmother, and she just commences to crying, and the grandmother's silent, eyes say yes to your question.
Have you tried seeking work at the castle? Would any of you? And I look to the young woman.
I could work, says the boy. We've
Oh,
no
yeah?
one to introduce him, sir, but he is a hard-working boy and no thief, despite what the miller said. And the boy nods at that.
I get down on the boy's level. I feel his arm. Strong?
It just feels like a grapevine.
Does he muster like a muscle though? Like does he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A survivor's like wiry muscle.
Sure. Like, can you count?
His eyes level as he nods a few times.
Oh yeah, how high? Have you ever
He
tried?
begins counting. But it's in like southern slang.
Hmm.
And so it's kind of like pair, few, half dozen, dozen, baker's dozen. Like he counts like that
Okay.
in like a weird, like scrap way, but a very useful way.
Hmm. Yeah, I nod. Perhaps perhaps work for you yet, boy. We'll see. Well, do as I told. If you, unless you wish more sorrow upon this house, like I said, I will return.
Bless you, Lord, bless you. The family offer, and like the boy tries to keep his bearing before your scrutiny, before you like move out of the hovel, out into the fresh summer air. There's
Yeah.
2 guards there with pine hedge livery, and they were detailed to you, and they know as you do that this is the last spot on like the list that you've done for the maester, for whatever agreement or pact you'd made with him for that. And so they kind of look for you. Anything else, sir?
Not at this time. Are there many like this? And I gesture my kind of head towards the
Every
hovel.
summer it is the same, sir. The small folk get sick, and some of them perish. The fevers are sent by the gods to test us, says the other. And that's what the Septon tells us. And those folk don't lie, says the other man, and they both kind of give a in the way that, like, because you're a bastard, they can talk like that.
I join in the jest. Yeah, I kind of like smile and nod in recognition of their joke and their mirth. I say, well, let's be off then. Tomorrow we'll bring a fresh list, I'm assuming.
That's news to them, but they'll give a nod as you say, sir. Yeah, walk past like a tavern where something lively is going on, and back to your quarters now at this late hour. Eventually, over the coming days, you're able to walk about and get about the castle and begin to chase a few of the maidens. Ronald, one less painful morning. The half chase leaves you like wheezing and coughing and like lightning pain in the wound, though it's in a good way, in a real good way. And you lean up against the arrow slit and look out and see Willem at the lists. Of his own volition, it seems, riding hard, the horse well leathered. Your brother doused like the sweat, his long hair lank from the toil. And even as you watch him, you see like more skill than you'd noticed there in him. And check yourself in the days that have passed, and that it is indeed your brother, this swan livery jousting with the hedgehogged lads and knights down there.
Yeah, like sort of try and walk off the stitch a little bit, and then come to like lean on like a nearby fence or something, and sort of go to cross his arms and realize that that's agonizing, and instead just sort of like lean his elbow on a fence post and sort of watch. And like, yeah, be pretty impressed. He's like watching for sort of typical mistakes, like the lance being too high or too low when he like stands in the stirrups and things like that, and like keeping an eye open for those kind of things. But overall, being pretty impressed and feeling sort of jealous that he can't be doing it at the moment, that he has to just like stand around and like, yeah, he can move and that feels great, but he's the kind of person who wants to be better now, wants to be better yesterday. Doesn't enjoy, like, the book is not great. He's been reading through it, and like when the maester said like he's mentioned twice, it's literally, you know, a line here or there as far as he can see it. Although maybe he wasn't reading with enough attention. But yeah, he'll watch. He'll just watch for a while and see if he can spot anything, any sort of things that Willem might be doing wrong. Not with the intent of like rubbing his nose in it, but just to help him improve.
Yeah, you can see his mistakes and see him even learning from some of them, and like can commit them to memory for when you might speak with him. As you're kind of scrutinizing him, you'll hear like footsteps down this spiraled stone case, and Sir Enric and his lady wife Eldrith will emerge. She has her hands placed over her like moderate pregnant belly, and looks downcast as she's a step behind her husband. And he says, my lord, your brother, he rides well enough, and he'll join you at the arrow slit. May I introduce my lady Eldrith?
My lady.
She'll curtsy, my lord.
Yes, he's working towards his spurs. He'll need to squire for someone.
Indeed. If he is to earn his spurs, as is his wont, he will need a knight to stand vigil for him.
He's already better at the practical side of things than many of the knights that I know, but there's still a few things he could learn here and there. And nonetheless, he needs to find someone to squire to sometime soon. He should be a knight already at his age.
Indeed. The gods have different plans for us all. He stifles something like kind of repositioning himself, and in that moment his wife speaks, "Forgive me, my lords. I have private business," and she gestures to her stomach, and he kind of nods in an assenting manner. She'll scurry up the hallway and he'll watch her go. Here at Pinehedge we watch our maidens well. We know that other houses have uncouth men in them, but here I keep a strict watch for my lady's kith.
Yeah, Ronald chuckles at that, and like feels an insult there. Says, "You don't need to worry about your maidens while I'm here. I'm badly wounded, my lord."
Indeed. And his wife will look one last time before she disappears down the hallway, and he'll give kind of like a graven smile, and then turn back to you and look down as Willem gets smacked in the back of the head by the plantain, or not the plantain, that's a banana. The Quintain, sorry. But it doesn't knock him off his horse, just like rear sidelong, but he continues the canter off. Still horse.
And why are you so careful with your maidens here? You don't trust them here? There's been some trouble?
Where there are men, there are lechery, despite what the Septon does, God's bless him.
Huh. Oh, we're not so strict in my house, and it seems to go pretty well, all things considered. Perhaps that's impious of me. We're not quite so well.
There is a sept yonder across the yard, my lord, if you'd wish its service to confess your sins.
I'm not sure that I've confessed any sins recently. He says, like, thinking about it, and realizes that, like, that doesn't really matter to people like this lord. Like, there's always something that you've done. Maybe you're right, though. It's been a while since I've been to the sept, to any sept.
I despair at that, my lord. A knight needs his soul nourished as he needs the benefits of the yard, and he'll point down to Willem, turning his horse about to make another charge.
I've always been more of a yard man and less of a soul man, I suppose.
I see, he says, in that infuriating down-the-nose look that only a man who's like an inch taller than you can give.
Yeah. Ronald finds this man very amusing. Like, he's not at all insulted. He thinks he's kind of sad and little. Even though he's taller than me, he comes across as very small.
Petty.
Yeah, and maybe jealous of like Ronald's youth,
Wounded.
and strength. Yeah. I'm gonna say your wife is glowing.
Indeed, motherhood will suit her, methinks. He'll look in the direction she left. The maester tells me it will be a boy by her bearing. That's to be expected, of course, and he'll put his thumbs in his belt and look out the arrow slit as he like preens his social feathers.
Is this your first, my lord?
Yes, though we've tried many years, and I've prayed at the sept for such a thing and made offerings there. Finally, the mother, maid, and crone have heard my prayers and blessed, as he says, smiling.
Ah, I see. Well, that is lucky, he says, and he's piecing together now like this thing about keeping an eye on her and something like that, and like that there's a lot of weirdness, and like couldn't get pregnant for years, and there's something there. Well, it's a good thing you're keeping such a close watch on her, and I'm very glad to hear you'll have an heir soon.
Indeed, sir. And if you will excuse me, I must go to her and see that she is all is well.
I'm certain, yes. I hope everything is well. Can't let
Perhaps
her wander off
I
too
will-
far now, eh?
Yes, of course. Especially when there are visitors about. Perhaps I will look for you at the Red Keep and the Prince's tourney, if your wounds do not bind you away from the festivities.
They barely burned me away from the list now, and it's only been a few days. I'll be there.
I shall look for you, my lord, and he'll give kind of like a military bow, not like a respectful one.
Yeah, I'll just incline my head, my lord.
And he'll like turn and stride off after Eldrith, and you can look back to Willem riding hard down in the yard.
Yeah, there's no earthly way I'm going to the Sept here. Like, they seem to be very devout. And it'll be the kind of Septon who's like, renounce your sins! And then Ronald has no interest in that.
Yeah, the best priest you ever met was drunk in a tavern.
Yes.
A portly man, a hedonist, some might say, heretical, the strictest would say.
Yeah.
You found his sermons the most interesting and laughable.
Exactly. That's my kind of priest. A priest who also might, make his way into a battlefield every now and then. That's a proper Septon. Yeah, so he'll kind of like limp, trying not to limp, over towards the lists and like watch it a little closer. And like wait for a time when Willem's about to strike and go, oh, watch out! To see if you can distract him and get him to like bump into something or something like that.
Roll a dex save, Willem. The DC being your wisdom mod Lloyd plus 8 plus your proficiency bonus.
My wisdom mod is 2.
Mine's just a straight dex
Dex save, yep.
save. It's 11.
So it was 12, right? Because 8 plus 2 plus 2.
Yeah, so at the last moment there's a call which distracts you and the Quintain like spins about and knocks you in the side of the head, and this time doesn't spill you from the saddle but causes that weird like one of your feet to go out of the stirrup and you're like nearly kind of overbearing on the horse. The squires have to come and like assist you down out of the saddle. When you pull up the training helm mask, you see your brother leering out of the wide arrow slits in the second story of Pine Hedge.
I'll just shout out his name to him.
Yeah, he's like laughing and then immediately
Ronald!
regrets the laughter.
Yeah.
It's like painful. He's like, oh, fuck off.
I'll laugh if I notice that.
Later in that afternoon, at the third hour, which is sacred to the Mother Maiden and crone, Lady Eldrith will go with her handmaidens to the Sept, and while one of them chitters with the Septon, who's like most accommodating to her, and the other handmaiden prays to another of the gods, Eldrith, you can find alone, Jess, as you like stalk through the hall, the god house. And if it is your wish, bypass the entourage of the lady and the proselytizing Septon, past the weird visage of the stranger and the striding defiant one of the warrior, the earnest and hard-working Smith and the judging father's eyes watch you pass towards Eldrith, who says a name that is not yours before she turns to realize that you're not the woman that she'd expected. Forgive me. And then she sees your garb, and her face rankles a little bit, not too much, but like, oh, who are you to come into my presence like this?
Forgive me, Lady Eldrith. I mean only to pray a while, and I prefer to do so in the company of other devout followers of the Seven.
Roll deception. Unless that's not a lie.
I think it's not a lie, but she's really not as devout as she's saying, so I will roll it. And that is a total of 17.
Indeed, she says, like an unbelieving tone in her voice. And then she gestures to like a stone like rest where you can kind of kneel or stand to pray. By all means.
Thank you, lady. She takes it, kneels.
You
Closes her
speak
eyes.
like a lady trained, yet you wear a man's mail. You must be the girl from Swan Song who came with Ronald's retinue.
That is I, lady. That is I.
You've set the men to quite a talking. My husband thinks it not right, but I find you likable enough.
She's confused for a moment, and that would show on her face. Her first thought is, set them into talking. Oh, in a kind of distracting way. And then she realizes, oh no, it's usually because of the way I dress and the manner that I have. I thank you, lady. I hope you will find that I am quite pleasant. I am sorry if my appearance offends you. I know I don't dress in the traditional garb of a lady, but as I am a bastard, she sort of leans in and whispers. So
At the word, it's like she flinches as if someone fired an arrow near her, and one of her hands instinctively goes to her belly.
I'm going to actually roll my own insight check to see if Jess notices that real quick.
Sure.
That was a 14, so yeah, I think she
Notice.
would. Yeah. And that's an extra little, might have taken Jess a few seconds, but I think that's an extra sort of realization of possibility here. And I think, shall we pray? And she would sort of do that in the guise of, okay, let's have our long silence here, or our, recite the words of prayer.
Yeah, she will, maiden mother crone, she'll intone and begin a recited prayer to them learnt by rote, but she says it fervently, pleadingly almost, in a tone.
Yeah. And Jess recites it at the same time as well, very much more by rote and repetition than fervently, or indeed pleadingly. But she definitely picks up on the tone of Lady Eldrith. And she lets just a few moments of silence linger after they finish their prayer, and then says, Father, I pray that you will judge Barrett Rivers justly, a man that I have met in the stockade, who seems that his only crime was being in love and perhaps loving the wrong person. And the crone, I pray that you will bring Barrett guidance for this path that he must now wander. And to the mother, to show him mercy. And she would just go on like this.
Yeah, she begins sniffling, and then the tears like drench down, and then it's like she has to put her hands to her face to hide the sobbing, like that your words provoke. And at the last word, she'll like take up the call with you and intone like the last sentence of plea to the three.
I think then she would drop the act and just look around and make sure there's nobody still in earshot, but she would then speak directly to Lady Eldrith. He may not survive until the Night's Watch come to claim him, Lady Eldrith. If you still care for him, I understand the situation you're in. But he may lose his life over this. Is that what you would want? And she shoots a look or an obvious look down towards her belly.
Is it not worse that they should both lose their lives, father and son?
People need not know. Why should your son lose his life?
Barrett must die or go.
It could be weeks, lady, until the Night's Watch come. Months even. How long will he last
What would
in
you
there?
have me do?
I'm not suggesting that you set him free. Send a raven. Speed the process along. I won't be staying much longer, and it's only by my kindness that he's not ready, died of thirst.
Then might you not implore your lord to take him with you to the Trident, there to wait the crossroads and his coming justice?
That is an idea, and I can do so. But whose decision is it ultimately? Even if Lady Beatrice would say it's so, what would your husband do?
If I were to defend the man who'd laid hands upon me, he would suspect something. He is a... She doesn't quite know how to call her husband a paranoid man.
Yeah, but I think Jess gets the meaning. She returns a sort of reassuring smile, and maybe puts her hand on her arm. You need not do such thing. I believe I can set things in motion. But answer me this, under the eyes of the seven, as we are here, with only them listening and I, and no other. Do you still feel for Barrett? You still have love in your heart?
She just turns her face away from you and cries to the maiden, nods a couple of times before hiding her face in her hands.
Yeah, she just, sort of rubs her arm a bit more comfortingly with her hand and nods. Only you and he will know, and I, and the seven. But him knowing will help keep him going for the long years he will have at the wall, serving the realm. He will serve for you, and he will serve for your son, she says, trying to choke back tears.
Her own eyes glistening, she'll reach out her claws to grasp hold of your forearm. Swear before the stranger. Swear your silence, strange girl.
She nods and straightens and lifts her chin. Memory of the scepter at Swan Song, Scepter Gabrielle, who she loathes the lessons of so much. Now coming in handy in this situation. I swear that if I should let Lady Eldrith's secret be known by any other than the seven, or Berit or her or I, that the stranger take my wits and the father harshly. And she looks over to sort of see, was that enough?
Yeah, it's clear that she is pious enough to believe you, and you feel the gods listening, and that binds the oath. And by the time Emery, Eldred's handmaiden, can get the lecherous mitts of the Septon off her and make her way to her lady, she finds her alone, um, tear-stricken, but there's no sign of your interaction, Jess. You're already off into the night of Pine Hedge. And I think that's where we'll end that scene and probably do the Biosmyco break here before getting clear of this place.
Perfect.
Yeah, that was
Thank
was
you.
great.
Yeah. I was happy with that.
give him riddles. Say the ancient Rornians used to tell each other riddles to test themselves, and those that had the best answers are those that were called up to be scribes. And I said, "Would you like to take the test?" And looking at the boy, and I would give him like easy
Yes,
riddles.
master. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can determine, like, I guess, meta his stats. He is keen of intellect, even though he's not book learned. It's probably his most defining feature. He's dexterous enough, though he's a weakling, and has like a poor constitution, and has no charisma at all, like naturally or socially.
Okay. But he can like, I guess I'm looking for just a malleable mind. And what would be like the cost of his service if I brought him into service?
I guess it would be for you to negotiate with his mother. Like, she can't, like, she's a servant of Beatrice and like bound her as a serf essentially, but I think her child, like, she could negotiate something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a mouth that she doesn't have to feed.
And it would be paid to Beatrice herself?
No, it would be paid to the mother, I'd say.
Gotcha. And like, what's a ballpark? Do you have like a?
Oh, no idea.
No idea.
Think, like,
how much to buy
I
your
don't know
son?
what the price of a human. Yeah, I've forgotten the price of a human child. I used to know it.
Oh, it's in one of the fucking tables, right?
Slavery's Yep. An income that he can kind of send home, or
yeah,
like,
that's exactly what I'm looking for. Like, just a payment.
Yeah, the mother then. Yep.
Are those
the
his
mother will readily
stats?
agree if you ask her. Yep.
Fucking hell, he's so wise.
His intelligence
Yeah,
is
he's wiser
15.
than me.
I've probably got him wrong. 10 is his wisdom. 15 is his
okay.
intelligence. 9 is his charisma. I just 3d6'd it.
Oh, right, okay. Oh,
And
yeah.
And what,
Cool.
like, how old is he?
11, 12.
11, 12. And does he have a name? I'm assuming he does have a name.
Joris Rivers.
Oh. Joris. Okay, Joris. Yes. I definitely try to negotiate bringing him into service. I would press Ronald to stay, until I feel that his brother is out of the worst of it. But if he's intent on going, I'm sure you are, then I would just do my best to leave instructions.
Yeah, if you can get him to rest another 5 days, like so that it's a full week under the maester's care, that'd be the best outcome. If he leaves any time sooner, it could be worse later on. You'll miss the tourney if you do.
Yeah.
No, like, as in, if you go too early, then your wound will open and then you won't be able to go to the tourney.
Gotcha. Yeah. Sure.
So that gives you guys a couple of... Yeah. So it just gives you guys a couple of days if you wanted to get anything done before we move it along. But if you want to negotiate with the mother, did you want to do that in a scene, Dan?
I mean, no, it's not. I mean, I would just like talk about, like, I just try to impress them with like history and stuff. Like, oh, there's the Roynians, the turtles are so big, they're as big as this house, and stuff like that. And then I would say that, come, I feel that this boy's destined for greater things, and that he could help his family by coming under my service. So
They'll agree, my lord, and for the grouts that you will promise to send or like pay to the boy until, I don't know, a couple of years of service or whatever you might deem. And yeah, they'll be happy for it, happy to do it as their way of payment for the youth whose life you saved by your investment, like his younger brother. And they'll
Excellent.
gladly, like, they see it as a blessing that they see you as like a lord or a sir, even though you're not, but like they see you like that. And so they think it's like a trajectory up for Joris out of serfdom.
Yeah, I make it clear to the boy right away that I'm a river just like you, and you can be standing where I'm standing if you apply yourself.
Yes, master. And he'll haul his haversack and like follow in with you to the yard where Jess has been getting all the stuff ready, and the hour of your departure approaches.
I clean him up and give him like clothes that don't make him look like he's a filthy peasant. Yeah.
Finest thing anyone in his family's ever worn, and he just knows to be quiet and wear it. Shaved head, too close to the scalp. Is there anything in the rest of you guys wanted to do before we exit?
No, not particularly. Is our uncle around at all while we're here?
It can be if you wish.
No, just out of interest as to what he was doing.
No, I just had him be doing other business.
Okay.
Because I didn't want him around.
Mhm.
But he can be around if you wish.
No. No, I don't really want to do anything in particular.
You could ride out to find him if needed, but yeah, otherwise he's seeing to his different domains.
Yeah, and that's how she puts it as well. Yeah, yeah. No, she would have, but not even waited until now. Probably a few days ago when pretty shortly after she had that exchange. So yeah, and that's basically her goal for this one, is to see if they can bring him along, whoever he has to get permission from, or whoever she has to get permission from, and try to avoid the potential ire of Sir Endrick.
Would you say that to Ronald?
Yeah, I guess because I guess that's the thing. It would have to be.
I think we need to have that conversation, then we'll need to have that scene.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
You break your oath.
Yeah, true.
Ronald makes you.
Yeah, shit. Oh man, I'm as Keel out of character. I'm so bad with those, clearly, because I fucking was about to just run my mouth, just tell it to Ronald straight.
Yeah, I'm like, are you sure you want to lose your wits?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so yeah, she would have come up to Ronald and been straight about the obvious stuff. She would take him to show him the man, kind of have this conversation standing there in front of him, so Ronald's looking at him face to face, and say, they're leaving this man in here until the Night's Watch comes to look for recruits, but that could be months, Ronald, and he's starving to death. If it wasn't for me giving him food and water, he would have died already. Can we take him with us? Mm-hmm. It deserves to make it up to the Seven and the realm by serving at the wall, does he not? She kind of like levels a gaze at him and kind of rolls her eyes. That's not the Seven, Ronald. Starving someone is no test, no justice of the Seven. This man is not being fairly treated, no matter his crimes.
Does it matter? What are his crimes?
And she leans in. He's been accused as a raper. But listen to this, Ronald. And she pauses again and leans in even closer after looking around. I need to make amends for what we did on the King's Road. If the Hog Knight died, needing to, perhaps I can save this man's life. He doesn't need to die. He can serve at the war.
He raises an eyebrow. The Hog Knight is dead?
Ronald.
We don't know anything about that.
No, we don't. And no one will know.
And
Not
so,
from me.
Because that man is dead, we should save this rapist?
Not we. Me.
Well, you can't do it. You need me to say, I'm taking him with me. I don't know this man, and if he's been accused of this crime, and the Lord has found him guilty, then he's guilty.
Yes, and his sentence is to go to the wall. But they have not the means. Our aunt has no means to send him up there. So they're waiting until the Night's Watch comes. But Ronald, I should have spoken to Willem first. Perhaps he could have convinced you more.
I wouldn't count on that.
I will beg you if I must, Ronald. This man's life is important to me for my own salvation in the eyes of the Father.
Why not
I feel that I'm being judged.
Why not save a worthy life? This man is worthless, a criminal, and a rapist. I don't want to take him with us. What if he does it again?
She kind of looks around and gestures like, who? Which worthy life? This is an opportunity before me right now. Perhaps I need to be paying more attention to the lessons of Scepter Gabriel. Perhaps that's what this is all about. When the Father judges me, and he does judge us all, Ronald, I will not be found wanting, not for one mistake. I can make up for it. Will you help me do that?
He rolls his eyes and looks to the sky as she's talking with the Father, judging everyone. And we're by the guy, are we? By the guy at the stocks?
Yeah, he's probably
You're close
not
enough to see him, but not hear him.
Yeah, okay. I'll go to him. And squat down in front of him. Did you rape someone?
No, my lord.
And why are you here?
The gods are cruel, my lord, and love is unkind.
Uh-huh. Why specifically are you here? In the stocks? What have you done?
I was caught with my hands upon Sir Enric's lady wife, Eldrith, my lord, and he set his hounds upon me. I was borne down and then dragged here to these stocks to await the crows, my lord.
So he discovered you with her?
Aye, my lord, and it were but for my lady Beatrice's kindness that my member and hands were spared, for he sought to have them with his own blade, my lord.
Huh. Okay. And he'll stand and go back over to Jess. We can't take him.
We can't.
No. The Lord has seen him with his wife, and if we suddenly decide we're going to take him with us, he will think something is afoot, that I have figured out this secret. I already had an inkling that something was wrong. And he doesn't like me.
Very well. As you say, Lord. And you would know, Ronald, that when she gets like this, after pushing something so hard, that she's not necessarily going to just let it go.
It's the equivalent of a fine full stop text message.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what Ronald is thinking, is that the Lord has seen this man with his wife, and then if I'm oh, can we take that freak like criminal with us so he can go to the wall quicker, he'll be like, because this man is like the only man who knows the secret. It seems like clear to me that he's not going to let him go, and if I ask, I think it will just make things worse. I think.
Yeah, out of character. Yeah, for sure, definitely. Yeah.
You know.
I mean, yeah, out of character. I could pick other things. You know, like try and pick it our aunt as like, you know, one less mouth to feed and make it her call instead or something. But yeah, I completely get it. Yeah. I guess at this point where Jess is like, okay, fine. But in her mind, she's like now contemplating, okay, can I and should I free him?
Okay, yeah. Well, Ronald will just basically say like, we can't take him, and that'll be his like firm stance in the end. Like, we can't, and I'm not risking myself for it. There's nothing to gain, except potential problems. And so when he's made that clear, he'll go and wander away.
And yeah, Jess will go over and speak with Barrett again, and say, I won't say too much, but I want to let you know I've spoken with Lady Eldrith, and you're wrong, Barrett. She does care for you. She does still love you. But the circumstances are difficult. Keep that with you. Keep that knowledge with you. Let it keep you going. I've employed my Lord Brother to let us bring you with us along so that we can get you to the wall quicker, that you may not starve to death in this stock. But he has refused. What I will do is speak with my other brothers, the Maester, to see that you are kept alive and as healthy as can be, so that you at least can survive until the Night's Watch come calling.
Thank you, girl, for all you've done me. You've a kind heart, and may it not bring you cruelty.
Thank you, Barrett, for the lessons you've taught me in this very short time. May the Father judge us both fairly. And she claps him on the cheek once more. Well, not claps him, but, you know, touches him on the cheek more and gives him another quick sip of water and a few morsels of food and heads away. And yeah, she would speak. We can probably do this out of scene, but speak with Oster and Willem. Probably more just Oster and the Maester to try and make sure there'll be at least one or two people watching out for the man and keeping him hydrated and fed enough when they leave.
I think Oster's leverage with that family he assisted, he could leave their money to pay for the man and themselves, like so that he's fed alive for when crows might come. Or to give him a better chance for that.
Yeah, absolutely. He was offered the wall.
Yeah, Barrett Rivers is bound for the wall when the crows come.
Okay.
So I think if there's nothing more to do here, then we'll skip to a couple of days later where Aunt Beatrice and cousin Willie and everyone else on the battlements is like waving off your retinue, the Wayne driver and Ton and Dirk, the mounted crossbowmen, the lecherous Sagaran Port and his squire Daleb, and you four heading back out for the King's Road and then north towards the Trident, where you'll bear west towards Swansong. You ride past that same hovel where the woman had buried her man by Leek Fields, and there are folk there tending to the enormous task. Before them, they will stop, and some will bow or wave, and children will run to see the passage of armed men as they go. But it's more or less as kind of like undermanned as when you'd come past here some weeks back. And people will call blessings out to the Lord of Swansong and whatnot as you ride up through the villages along the roads that lead to the holdfast of your father. The drawbridge is down and you clatter upon it to your retinue as you like pour into the Grail's yard. and servants and stable boys will come to see to your mounts and the wagons and what gear you've brought, and the necessities of life. And your father will like come down holding his wife's arm more for support than in an honourable fashion, as he coughs and hacks and wheezes and like takes each step with like cautious judgment given his ill state. My boys have returned. Come, come, he gestures to Willem and Ronald. Come to your father's hall. We've news, and you too, I'm assuming. And he'll gesture to it and look to you, Oster, and give a nod in that fashion of, I've read the ravens you sent from Pine Hedge.
And then nod in recognition of his knowing.
He'll leave the artifice of the yard behind and come into where servants have prepared or are still preparing your father's hall, and seats of primacy for yourselves, and like an order is like placed out where servants will come to bring food, wine, drinks, and see to your needs. He will like stand with his lady wife, your stepmother, Lady Page, at the head until he'll allow you all to seat by himself, seating first. And someone will close the doors to the loud yard outside, and like a minstrel will pluck up in the corner. Well, boys, what have you to say to yourselves, eh?
You're looking well.
He waves like a bloody rag in his hand at you, and Maester Grubrook at his right shoulder gives like a despairing look.
Well, you're up and moving, he'll say.
Much to this one's disbelief, he thumbs towards Grubrook, who'll go to like offer some like explanation, but your father will wave him down. Let the boy speak.
I know what that's like. I was wounded myself. And
I can see scrapping on the road. That is good. Story to it, I'm sure.
Yeah, he'll nod and he'll like look towards Oster for a second, like I knew this would happen, and I told you. And then he'll like regale him with the story of the attack, and he'll
a good lesson learned.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, and he'll like play up, well not play up, but like tell the truth about like Willem, and like not leave it out in the way that he usually would have probably before. That Willem had like really outdone himself in the fight.
Indeed, Will. You surprised me. Your turn, your spurs, finally. Your mother would be proud, lad.
Thank you. We presented the request for Sylvie's hand.
Eileen, you mean?
Oh, Eileen, yes.
Good, that is well. At least one of you will be wed, though it will be later rather than sooner. We must find a night to knight you, Will.
Willem nods.
That is why you will respond to this in lieu of myself, and he'll proffer forward an unscrolled raven message.
I'll take it. Yeah. Read it aloud.
It's an invitation from Grand Maester Pycelle, imploring the lords and ladies of the realm to come to the prince's name day tourney. Prince Joffrey, the infant son of Robert Baratheon and Queen Cersei, to be held at the Red Keep at Summertide, to ride for glory and coin a winner's purse for the jousts, the melee, and the archery. There's to be a symposium of maesters from like the middle and southern parts of the realm, and many of the other festivities that come with such an occasion. And it's not a new invitation, of course, like you heard word of this some days ago in Pine Hedge. But here it is, and he'll say, and you will both go to find glory and coin, and a wife for this house. He says wife with an inflection towards you, Ronald.
Well, that's my hope. As we get to this tourney, I might be able to find someone suitable, fitting.
There are pleasure houses and inns of all sorts of southern debauchery down there, he says with a wry grin. But you must ignore them, boy. Keep your eye on the task at hand, or else. And then he points to like the bandages beneath your red and black doublet.
That's right. I know. I'm getting on in years. Better find myself a wife.
That could go nasty upon the road, so you shall go with the Moster, he says, and see to their health.
Of course.
Grubrook must stay here and see to my arrangements, and he nods gravely at that. I'm not long for this world, boys. I know it may be hard to believe, but this is the Maester's belief, confirmed by his books and his tests. He waves his hand, descending into coughing. But even as the gods curse me, they have blessed me also. And he'll like grab Lady Page's hand with his worried old one. Oh, blessed. You're to have a sibling. And he swallows the bloody phlegm that he'd conjured from the coughing before and gives something like a crooked smile, while Lady Page just looks wretched and despairing.
Well, that is good news.
Indeed. A toast to our house. And he'll call for drink. Maester Grubrook will go to interject that he shouldn't, but he'll wave the man off again and clasp for it, spilling a little, and to my wife. And there's a very like grim toast to it, called out by like servants and like guards or attendants here. Lady Page hates the oration.
Yeah, Ronald's not so enthused about it either. And he feels bad for her most of all. But yeah, that's like in his head, but outwardly he's like, hooray, another son of Grail. And he'll like raise his cup.
Yeah, Willem's not. I guess he would try to hide his sort of disgust at the at what's happened to Lady Page, but maybe not so well as Ronald does. I guess it would be a pretty somber toast.
Yeah, she will drink long of her cup, like just an instant or two, too long. And he doesn't seem to notice or care in his lordly way as he looks back to you. See what preparations must be made. And to that, he points to the bloodied bandages at your chest, Ronald. Take what you need and whatever men that you think necessary for the journey south to the Red Keep and the tourney. Now let us feast. And he will eat with like vigor despite his sickness. Lady Page will eat sparingly, despite the decent and lavish meal pulled out for you. And Jess and Oster, there's a place at a lower table for you, not at the table with them, but in hearing and like sight of the main feast of your return. But it's largely mirthless affair.
I'll ask our father. And has anything happened here in our absence? What news of the surrounds?
Blackthorn's still been quarrelling with those bastards across the fork in Riverthorn. Port, he says across to Sir Garin. I thought you might levy some boys and go with him next raid. Yes, sire, but there'll be tourneys aplenty. To this you must see to promptly. Let my son go for the glory. As you command, sire, says Sir Garin, and he looks to you with that like, oh man, kind of look from you, Ronald. Don't know what kind of look he gets back.
Yeah, Ronald's unsure about the situation as well, and he'll give him like a little shrug, like I didn't say anything.
Other than that, boy, not too much. I've been busy, as you can tell, and he kind of puts a hand on Lady Page, and she winces. The townsfolk have paid their dues. There was some minor scruffles about it, but I sent men from Swansong down to deal with it.
Scruffles? What? For what cause?
Disputes, people lacking in their taxes. The usual talk, boy. That is why you must always have men at hand to quell small folk when they prattle so.
Yes.
Mark that well, he says to you, Ronald, as if it's like perfect wisdom, but it's just his opinion to you, Willem.
Yeah, I'd think I'd be pretty familiar with like that school of thought on dealing with small folk, and I think like Ronald does that most of the time anyway. He knows he's a lord, and so he's like genetically superior to all of the small folk, and just sometimes they need to hear the thunder, or else they forget to be afraid.
Yeah, Willem's more reflecting on the woman that we met planting a tree by the road, thinking more of the plight of the surrounding peasantry.
And how is Beatrice, that prickly old bitch, Yeah. The gods have not blessed us with her being struck mute.
Not quite, no. She humiliates Willie on a daily basis.
Of course she does. It'll be good for the boy. It will help to make him hard. He was soft like you were,
I was
and
never
he may
soft.
grow hard like you are. Oh, yes, he says. We've all a softness in it, boy. And youth is the time for beating it out.
Yeah, I think that's right. He'll say and like take a bite out of some of the bread and like look over to Jessica for a second, like down in the cheap seats.
But yes, all is well, Will, here, and should be for time to come. Come your return from Summertide, there are things we must discuss then, but we have had business enough. Let us celebrate your return, my sons. And you like hear those words, Oster, but you know they're not meant for you.
Yes, indeed. One more thing, we how goes the harvest? We rode past many uncut crops on our way.
There is much unfinished in the outer settlements, but we've taken our due and what is needed for the larders. The rest must be reaped by the peasants if they wish to store themselves through autumn and winter. So you get the sense that there's like harvest out there that's like hasn't been brought in, or the jobs that haven't been done, but the crown, so to speak, has gotten what it wants, and so has ceased inquisition into the matter. But as you saw firsthand, it means that there's people likely who might starve or be overworked into sickness.
Yeah, but we have enough for like the garrison
And the
here.
castle, yep.
Yeah. Okay.
With such a huge, I mean, I don't know if, like, with such a huge military force for a house of our size, like, we have a pretty significant. If people can't take the crops in, we want to take those crops in. Like, can we set soldiers to do that work? Like,
yeah, what are the soldiers currently doing all the time?
Yeah.
Just
lounging, dicing, patrols, fighting,
We're just
squabbling, all that kind of stuff.
paying them
You
for
could
nothing,
definitely
really. Yeah, I guess I won't say it to the Da, because I think he would just think it's a stupid idea, but then I'll probably just do it one of the other days.
Yeah, that's probably more what Willem's thinking too.
Cool.
Like he's
just
not...
go around behind his back and order 100 men to go farming.
Yeah, because I think if I say it to him, people are like, oh, they have to do their own.
Yeah, you
blah, blah,
get
blah.
the feeling.
But like,
He's kind of got that one time he needed men on hand and he had them and he
Yeah.
used them, and so he's always been since then. Like, you've always got to have fucking 400 men up your
Yeah.
sleeve. Like,
It's
yeah,
crazy.
he's kind of like that.
Like, we're just paying, we're just paying them to sit around, you know. So like, yeah, I guess I'll find whoever
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably me because I'm like nominally in charge of our military, but like some of the captains or castellans or whatever, and like sergeants and stuff, talk to them and take some of our more trusted men as opposed to like the more rowdy ones who might get in trouble, and set them to that task.
Yeah, surely that kind of thing. Like soldiers do a lot of like, digging and construction.
Yeah.
I guess maybe this is a bit far away from usual duties.
A lot of them are
Those
probably
who
farmers
like,
anyway.
those who might complain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's it. They would have been drawn from like peasantry who were farmers too, so they'd have skill enough to help with that, with like the summer stuff. I like seeing to the orchards and animal pens and all that kind of stuff. And they'll do so under your orders, Ronald, in the days that you guys prepare at Swan Song.
Yeah, it's really insane to let crops like rot in the fields. Really, you could at least sell them or something.
Could they get a share then? Would that be appropriate?
The
like
soldiers?
from the cell. Yeah, like a portion.
I mean, they
you know,
could.
to-
They don't have to give them anything, though. They have to do what they're
Okay.
told. You know, like they just do what they're told. Like,
I guess to keep them, busy, or I don't know, and to
yeah,
entice
I
them
hear what
to.
you're saying, but I think I mean, like I'm the Lord, so I can just tell them to do things, and they have to do it. You know,
Got it. Sweet.
I think
Yeah.
because I feel
Well,
like
surely.
if we start being like soft with like, well, here's a bit of work that I'm ordering you to do, but in return I'll give you this. It's like, wait a second, it's a slippery slope
Yeah.
before they're like, I want to get paid double before I go to fight
Got
or
it.
whatever. You know.
And I want more on Sundays.
Yeah, fuck, don't give them anything.
The bastards will unionize.
Yeah. But like, harvesting some crops is not as bad as going to war. I'd be like, well, you gave us extra shit
Yeah.
for harvesting
Yeah.
that wheat. I want a lot to go
Yeah.
fucking get shot at.
Exactly. Yeah.
My idea was just have a furlough rotation,
Oh
and
yeah.
just
Give them like whatever, a couple of days.
like, especially guys that aren't like friends, like you and this guy that you really hate. All right, you guys go, instead of like a group that are like,
Yeah,
close.
rotate them around.
Yeah.
We could do a couple of things, get some other sort of something that would be useful for heaps of strong men to do,
Yeah. Dig
not
more
just
ditches or like irrigation or like fucking I don't know, that kind of stuff.
A new granary nearby to a field, like so that
Yeah.
workers don't have to transport as far. Any of that kind of stuff. You can just set 100 men to rotate through,
Yes.
so
Yeah.
that Father's garrison's never compromised.
100 men could
pull
easily
some of the
build a barn in a week, or like dig a ditch or like a new stream of water for like some of the fields and stuff.
pull some of the stone from what's it called, Paleford.
Yeah. It still leaves men enough for Blackthorn and Port for their forays across the Red Fork. And then it leaves enough for a garrison and leaves enough to see work being done. And so it will be. Joris will take to his duties there and remember his instruction for while you're away, Oster, and like fall in place with the other people in your, like set up in your apparatus, so to speak.
The workroom.
The workroom, yep.
Workshop.
Is there anything you guys wanted to do particularly in Swan Song before you head south to King's Landing?
Oh. I would start in on Joris in regards to his education. So that's just starts in earnest. Any opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
So learning to write and, the basics of that.
I guess for Ronald it would be like just trying to get as fit as he can, as quick as he can without hurting himself. So doing things like stretches, starting to jog again and those kind of things. He wants to be like in good shape for when he gets to the tourney.
Daily meetings with your physician.
Yes. Yep. Like eating correctly, whatever that means in Westeros, what they think is correctly.
Beef and wine.
Beef and wine, yeah. But like, yeah, exercising and stuff, sort of building up his tolerance once again, kind of after like whatever it was, a week and a bit of bed rest. And then I guess, yeah, talking to some of the sergeants, I guess they'd be sergeants, right? Or captains maybe, about this furlough thing. So that we'll take 100 men like every week to take care of like public works projects, basically, like go build a barn in this place, or help with this, taking in the harvest, or dig a ditch over here, or build a wall over there, or whatever it is, so that we always have people working on improving the land and helping out the small folk as much as we can.
Yeah, they'll hear your counsel and agree to it. And even though like some may seem to rankle in a way of having the option of having to command their troops to do this like less than soldierly work, the older heads amongst them see the wisdom in keeping the idle troops busy and to like purpose.
Do you know what,
So
actually?
you're confident it'll be carried out.
I'll add in like an alternate option, which is grueling drilling. So then they have the option to either like be grilled or drilled like insanely by
glorious.
sergeants to the point of like utter exhaustion and vomiting, or they can go and work on this thing for a week, like in their week.
Yeah. A core of men begins to form. I don't know if you meant this or not,
Mhm.
but of those who will spite the farming ways and will become better warriors.
Yes,
Maybe one day will come into your notice.
excellent.
But yeah, so a minority will pick the grueling drills and such, but the smart ones will pick I'll work in an orchard all day and not be shot at by arrows and maybe eat a raspberry. Yeah. Yep, I like it. Jessica or Willem, was there anything you guys particularly want to do in Swan Song before we head off south?
Yeah, Jess would obviously be really, really eager to spend some time with Fish and Haley, and regale of all the adventures she's just had, and obviously exploring in the Wilderwood and the Jeren Break. And I think it's there where that little scene that I wrote a few weeks ago, where Jess Wood, against the advice that she would probably get from all three of her brothers, confides in Haley about what happened on the King's Road with the Hog Knight, while they're in the ruins at Cairnhold. So there's a little thread for you later, Nico.
Nice.
And yeah, other than that, she'd be face palm. Other than that, yeah, she'd be really excited about the prospect of entering the archery contest at the tourney, and so she'd be practicing for that as well. And she would also go and uncharacteristically be spending more time with Scepter. Gabrielle, sort of swallows her pride and is finding that is a genuine outlet for her sort of guilt, I suppose. Trying to sort of seek redemption and forgiveness.
Yeah, she's welcoming, almost in like an expectant way, and she'll stand or sit with you in the sept of grace of Swan Song when you seek the succor that the gods can provide. In Cairnhold, scouting about and hunting, there's nothing of note or like particular circumstance that occurs there. Though you do find evidence of like some body living out there. One set of boot prints, fairly light, but you lose the trail after a time. And though Fish barks at the distance, nothing comes from it. You make your way back to Hallis, Hap, and Haley in the stables to share a meal and convene with them. Hallis is proud, though he doesn't say it, and he'd never say it. And he promises to send word on of your good work and hopes that you will mirror it again as he hears word that you're to go south and see to the horses and such of the retinue of Ronald the Red.
Perfect.
Yeah, Willem's just gonna sort of continue training for the tourney, maybe asking Ronald a whole bunch of really kind of too theoretical questions about jousting, etc. But seeking to train with him a little as well.
Ronald's definitely like do it by feel kind of person. He's like, you'll just know the moment, which is totally useless in terms of like teaching. And there's a lot of that sort of like gut feeling and like, oh, you'll see it in his eyes and that kind of stuff, which is not useful, but that's how he knows. He doesn't like know much theory, I don't think,
Okay, so yeah, Willem's like, and in this treatise by Elder Knight here, what of this technique here with the spear tip is such and such, and you're like, oh no, it's just, you'll know.
Yeah, he like looks at it and he's like, well, then you would just do this, and he like would show you like a move or whatever. I think he can like explain it through action, but he wouldn't know any of the reasons. It's like the way like if you're a fluent speaker, you can't explain grammar, often. He's like, he knows what to do, but he doesn't know like why or what any of the techniques are called or anything like that. He just has done lots of practice. And he would like encourage Willem as well, like, if you put your nose in the book all the time, then it'll get chopped off when you fight him, man. You need to be up and practicing and doing it, and it'll become memory in your body. That's the best way to learn.
Yeah, Willem's very receptive of Ronald's knowledge, wisdom as always. And yeah, he had been just lingering on like terminology and not very useful things, especially when it's so soon the tourney, and so I guess he'll redouble, do some actual practice.
Yeah, like Ronald will tell
Training.
him things like just getting used to like the feel of your horse and making sure that like you know little things like timing like the push with the horses like and that kind of thing, and like just all those little bits that I guess you would get from doing jousting a lot, but like that wouldn't be in any books, I don't think. And like
Yeah.
making sure that like, you know, you're looking at it in a certain way so the sun doesn't like glint in this direction, and that your helmet is positioned in this way so that nothing gets in your eyes, and like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, great. Do we have, what kind of horses have we got?
Oh, you have war destriers.
Or destriers? Okay.
Yeah, you have like good war horses because you have like a thing of knights.
Oh, Ronald, you were gifted one.
Yeah, he's got a special
yeah.
boy.
Yeah.
I got
Okay.
a real nice, powerful warhorse.
Storm, gift horse from Sir Kevin Manning.
Yeah, I guess Ronald would be, if he's able, like just getting accustomed to that horse and like trying to befriend it and understand it better and like have it be used to him by the time he gets to the tourney. So spending time with the horse and like riding, and I mean it would know, I guess it's like the horse is made for jousting in some ways, and so it would have some sort of like knowledge of that, but like practicing here in Swansong for a few days before we go.
I think it's after practice one of those days, like maybe the day before or so, you're about to leave south, when Maester Grubuk would come to the both of you, not by not by happenstance, like obviously with purpose, and there's a grim look about his face, that peels out across his jowls and long grey sideburns. My lords, if I might speak with you a moment.
Of course, good maester.
You know, Ronald will like wipe some sweat from his brow and like flick it onto the ground, and then like start dismounting.
It is my belief that soon the stranger will come to open the last door for your father. His illness is aggressive, and despite his misgivings of his vigor and recent fertile events, his situation is grave, and he will not relent his lifestyle that so weakens him to this illness.
Huh.
Soon a time will come, masters, when, and it's rare to see this usually so confident and outspoken man so wordless or fumbling.
When?
I do not think he will live to see winter, and even if by some miracle he does, the last summer snows might do for him. He would never consent to a move to the south, and seems resolved to die in the hall of his fathers.
Yeah, that would be like him.
His wife he seems to find some pleasure and purpose in, though I'm unsure if it's mutual, he says, a straight lie. Like it's obvious that it's not mutual.
Yes. The child, what do you think? Will it be okay? Not affected by father's ailment?
I cannot be sure. If the lady already has your father's affliction, then she will suffer it. But if she falls under sway of the illness from now on, then the babe will suffer.
Then we should separate them. Yeah, he like rolls his eyes like as if that's gonna happen.
Such damage may already be done, my lord.
To save the child's life.
If it is the latter case, my lord, there is little I can do. to save the child. Even the mother's life may be imperiled, my lord. I have tried to speak to your father on this, but he will not hear it. And he goes to describe to you like how his father will not hear it, and you know exactly what he's trying to illustrate.
Yeah. And you would have him move to the south? He will live longer? In the hot climes?
At least for the winter if he made it that far, but even that is a stretch, my lord. One that he will not contemplate.
Well, I can try to speak with him. I'm not sure what good it will do, but I can try.
It might do well, my lord, methinks, to have those words before you bear south.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Forgive
Maester.
me, lords. I know you must be busy. I do have duties to attend. If you'll excuse me, he'll clank his chains about.
Thank you, Maester. Willem says, incredibly not thankful for the task that he's laid on us.
Yeah, he didn't actually do it, but he sort of did do it.
Yeah. Well, now then, I think he'll say to Willem when the Maester clinks away.
Yes. Before we must dwell upon it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a young page dressed in the livery, swan livery of your house, and there's a servant girl with a red and black bonnet clearing away food and drink from a table that your father lounges behind, while a minstrel plays in a corner. And in this room, he has a great vellum map of the regions of House Grail and its neighbours and the shades in coloration of their sigils. And he will welcome you both in, smiling, seeing you both dressed in arms and finding it to his liking. My boys.
Father. What's this, plotting?
Thinking. A dangerous thing indeed. Be off with your girl, he'll say with a lecherous smile, and she'll give a weird smile in return and go. And he'll dismiss the page with a hand. He'll call out to the minstrel to be quiet, and the man will do so and hang his head to the floor. And you stand in front of the map between him. What is it?
Ronald will sit in one of the chairs and reach over and pour himself some wine, and then hand that to Willem, and then pour himself one. You're sick.
I am.
Not just sick.
I'm dying.
Yes, we spoke with the Maester. Well, he spoke at us.
I've heard his thoughts. I'm dying. One glass of wine won't do it any quicker, and he'll reach over and take what you've come to know in the last moments is unwatered wine, quite strong, and he'll have a slug upon it.
Yeah, when he puts it back down, I'll take the cup and slide it towards me. No, but 30 a day will make it quicker. If you continue like this, then you won't see winter. Is that what you want?
Rather than look away from the Inquisition, his gaze just hardens.
It is
I
not
am
what we
Lord,
want.
and if I will have drink, then I will have drink. You will know the thirst when you take up my mantle, son.
You're choosing to die quicker. We don't want that.
He nods.
The Maester is sure he can at least extend your time here. It's something Ronald and I would like.
To languish my last 2 or 3 spans in the sandy Dornish hills, to be prickled by scorpions and served by goat fuckers. I will not have it. I will not have it.
Well, then you can stay here, I suppose, and drink yourself to death if you wish. But it would make me very sad.
Whatever happens, soon I will die. Then you must rule, and you must ponder, and he'll point to the map.
Yeah, Ronald will glance at the map for a second and then back at him.
If I would die sooner of drink than later from the curse of my lechery, it is my choice. You will never defy me, except in my death.
Then what last lessons can you give us? Or if once we are away to the tourney, we may return to find you gone.
Trust only in your blood, in the true blood. Even then, be always thinking. Keep your men mighty, and have many swords at your back, for there will come a time that you will need them. Marry a young wife with strong legs. And listen to your brothers.
What do the Seven say about taking your own life?
The Father judges he who suicides harshly, for it is wrong to take a life, even one's own. He says in that mocking tone of the sceptic Gabriel. But in the north it is an honor. The old lords go on their last hunts. He shakes his head at the barbarity.
We're not in the north. And you're choosing to take your own life.
Shall I give up drink to die of thirst, boy?
You won't die of thirst. You're being childish. Petulant.
He smiles approvingly. Maybe for the first moment you don't realize why. Then you realize perhaps it's because of the moxie you're showing, and he approves, it puts him at ease that you're ready. If it is your wish that I do not drink, Ron, then I will not drink, and he'll gesture for a servant to come and take his cup away.
You're going to have a child. And that is surprising, but welcome news. And if you continue to eat and drink the way that you are, and you stay here where it's wet and cold, well, then you might not even see the child. That's not something that I want.
Promise me you'll protect the boy or girl, whatever may come. There might be those who'll counsel you to make them disappear. But we Grails remember our blood, even the blood that is not noble.
This kid, Nico, is so the woman he's with is noble, right? Or is she not?
Yep, House Page is across the Red Fork. They're a noble house.
Okay, so this kid would be an actual Grail.
Claimant. Yep.
Yeah. But not related to us the way that me and Willem are, because it's not our mother.
Yep.
Okay.
He'd be third claimant for the seat of Swansong.
Right, okay.
After yourselves.
A steps
Or she.
Step sister or brother?
Mm-hmm.
But full, yeah.
Yep. They're legally married and everything, him and Lady
Yep.
Grail. Okay. Yeah, then Ronald will say, well, yes, they're family. Whoever they are.
Good. He takes the thing as an oath.
But it would be nice, don't you think, if you could see the child, spend some time with them as they grow up. And if you were in Dorne, surrounded by goat fuckers. You would be warm, and you could relax. You wouldn't have to worry about this constant scheming, poring over maps all the time. You could spend some time with your child and with your wife.
Fine words, Ron. And if were I not a fool, I might abide them.
Is it so awful to
But the
think
Lord
that
of
you might-
Grail's place is here at Swansong till his death.
Willem's been drinking deeply and he finishes his cup of wine. And that is that then. You will linger here until your end.
I shall rule to my last, as I swore to. I made no oath, at this point, to tuck tail and run from my life.
Would it be so bad to spend some years of joy?
It would be a pleasant thing.
Then take it.
Return from the capital with a wife, and I'll give you the Grail Blade, and I'll go to Dawn.
All right. You can start packing. You miserable old bastard.
And you best start riding south, you disobedient shit.
Yeah, he'll smile. And then he'll like lift the glass of wine and sort of like cheers to his father and then like throw it onto the ground. I'm gonna have my spies in here making sure you don't get pissed while I'm away.
There'll be spies aplenty. Oster's, yours, Page's, and some I don't know about. You'll know what I mean, and he'll say that as he's already gesturing to a nearby servant to come and clean up the wine that you spilt to make a point.
Yeah, he'll stand and like walk over to his father and put his hand on his shoulder. I'll come back with a wife then.
He'll smile and put an arm up on your shoulder, and you've never felt him weaker and seen his hands more spotted and pox-ridden. And he'll smile as he like watches you walk out. And he'll turn to you, Willem. He will need you, as I needed people in my times.
Yes, I will be there for him and for the younger sibling to come.
Your wife, she'll make magic with her knees and pour honey in your ears, and she will split you. Never be divided by Ronald, but in his death. Swear it to me, Will.
I swear it.
If the gods are unkind, one day you may take up the Grail Blade and have to lead. You've already mastered learning by your own experiences, but you must learn too by others.
Yeah, Willem's nodding. Yes, I will try. I gained much wisdom from Ronald already.
In him and Oster and Jeska, you can trust. In them, even above your own feelings, you can trust. The blood tie is strong there, even if the name is not.
Yes. Yes. What of Eileen, my new wife? Will I, when I return here, if I come with her hand, what were your intentions for us?
A grandson, of course, That's what it's all about. Lords and ladies and castles. It's about babies, Will.
Yes, so I've heard.
She will give you a child and you will give her what you can. That is the way of it.
Mm. Yes.
And have her pay a fine dowry. He smiles.
Of course.
We will need it, he says, and points to the much uncharted region of the Trident Woods.
Yes.
I haven't been keeping this army about to watch me die, Will. Nor have I kept it to impress Page. He hates me as his daughter does, but a fig for them. This army's for you and Ron. Across the Red Fork. Here. He points a finger towards the uncharted regions.
Yeah, I stand up and loom over the map, studying it.
Ronald can fight and hang the men there, burn out the holdfasts and pull down the walls and scour the woods. But it's you who have to chart it, to make it work. Do you see what I mean, boy?
Yes, I see.
Aye, and it's wise to have these soldiers in the fields, and Ronald listens to counsel. That sits well with me, but never disband the force, son. Swear that also.
I will not disband it.
His eyes level. Shrewd. Good. You've half or more of your mother in you than me. Perhaps that is for the best. Go, see to Ronald here, and take this drink before I see to it.
Yeah, I take it with me.
Good luck in the south, Will. I'll see you before spring.
Thank you, Father. I'll see you then.
He nods that the minstrel may take up his tune again and sits and smiles, watching you go as well. Less than a week later, your retinue is days south, even of Pine Hedge, on the King's Road, headed for the Red Keep. The journey thus far has been uneventful. The weather is warm and clear, and there's a breeze which rustles the trees which grow either side of the King's Road. And though you've seen scant other travellers on your way south, and definitely fewer still who have passed you heading north. Jess, it's late afternoon and you're away from the main party who are on the road under Ronald's command, and you're scouring the either side of the King's Road to look for a safe place to camp for the evening, as it's more than a day's ride to the nearest inn, by what the last traveler you passed said. And it's at that point where you're crunching through the undergrowth when a warm wind wafts the stink of death through your nostril, just effervescently, momentarily, as you pause, you smell it again, and the whiff of carrion leads you creeping over twig and weed to where there's movement of black shadows pouring over something on the ground, and that a particularly disquiet footstep, a set of or a murder of crows rise up from the corpse of a horse with a bloated belly pecked and ripped at. They set to fluttering.
Oh, she gags. Well, not gags, but she covers her face against the smell and against the sight. Poor thing. And she tries to inspect. She probably would get a bit closer. She would try and inspect what may have been the cause of death for this horse. But she sees that it's been obviously quite as if it's all bloated.
Give me a perception or survival check. Or investigation.
You got it. be 19 perception.
It looks like the horse's prints lead towards nearby like wooded copse beyond sight of the King's Road. It looks like it stumbled here and then fell onto its side. The cause of death as it currently is unknown, but you do notice that there's like blood pooling from underneath its back, away from where its like face and extremities have been picked at by the crows. Maybe it's taken some wound that's hidden by how it fell.
Yeah, seeing that, she would get a small log or a large stick and maybe try and roll it over a little bit to sort of see if she can see if there's an arrow head or shaft or an obvious blade wound or something like that, just so she can have a better idea.
Give me an athletics check. The horse is not like so decayed that it would like fall away or slough away by this. You'd have to actually be moving it. Even with the leverage, it'd be tricky. So
Yeah, it'd be a heavy,
16.
Heavy thing. Oh, that's a fail.
Yeah, you can't leverage the horse over to get at what might have done it. Like its dead weight is too much for you. And this is inconvenient because you followed a goat trail or such from the King's Road towards where you might normally expect like a rest site or camp or something, else the trail would not exist.
Yeah, she was hoping that this would be, she'd be getting very close to a site where she could declare that this is where we'll make camp. This kind of throws a spanner in the works as far as she's concerned. And she needs answers if she's going to do this, or she has to push on in her mind and try and find another spot. What's the daylight like at the moment?
Late afternoon, it's like 4 o'clock.
Yeah, so she's not too sure what to do. I think she would probably. So, what do you think? I guess she would try and see, is there a spot that they could still camp nearby? Like if she gets some of the men to help bury the horse or something like that, so that it's kind of out of the way, and then they're just extra vigilant if for whatever threat.
There's the copse of trees that the horse's prints came from or in the direction of, which could give shelter in case of like weather and definitely concealment from the road.
Yeah, I think actually
you could go back to them and go further on up the road.
Yeah, I think first off, actually, she would trace the horse's steps back. Yeah, again, in more of an investigatory kind of way, tracing them back to kind of see what things are like in that copse of trees.
Can I get a perception roll from you?
Yeah. $13.
So you follow the trail up to the copse and like begin moving like branches aside, like going in under like the darkness that the canopy here provides. And it's like you don't kind of hear the noise of like bones snapping and maws clacking at each other till you kind of step from around a tree to kind of stand half a bow shot or less away from where there's 7 wolves pouring over the remains of several men, it appears like, white as milk. And one of them looks up with like a dripping red muzzle and growls, alerting the others to your presence as you like stand there taking in the scene, the stink of it, and the hair rising fear of it, as these wolves like will turn up their faces away from opened bellies to take a few steps towards you, kind of triangulating around this alpha with a red grizzled muzzle who's growling at you.
Yeah, she immediately pauses and completely freezes, and her heart just sinks in her chest. And she quickly does a quick instantaneous count, seven wolves, and notes their movements and the way that they're gathering around this alpha. She would also quickly take in how many corpses, human corpses, that they were feasting on.
I'm not sure if I have an exact number here. A group.
Okay.
Let me see if I can find an exact number for you. But yeah, I will get it to you if I find it.
Okay, that's cool. And as well, kind of, are they wearing armor? Do they have weapons in hand or nearby? Does it look like
It
they
doesn't
were
appear so.
Okay.
Naked or
Um,
semi-naked, unarmed men who have been feasted on by wolves.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, you couldn't
okay.
really notice much more than that, given the situation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I wouldn't even really be able to tell whether they were set upon here or dragged here from elsewhere, but most likely set upon here, I would probably assume. Okay, so I guess she says to herself in her mind, we won't be camping here. And see, I guess she would have to try and run. And so, sorry, I'm just trying to bring up my spells because I have a couple of things that I think might be able to help here. Yeah, I think basically her plan is leg it back to the group as fast as she can and try not to get eaten along the way.
Do you have a bonus action move?
What I have is 40 feet movement. And actually, are we, because we're in the copse of trees, but when I leave the copse of trees, we're not in like a forest terrain, are we?
Even though it's like forested, I wouldn't class it as forest because it's adjacent to the King's Road, which is kind of like semi at least cleared. Or
Exactly, yeah, it's quite sparse. Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's her instinct is to run, but then, yeah, she wonders whether when she leaves this copse of trees, it's going to be quite open. So she all in the split second, she thinks whether she's going to try and run behind her or to climb a tree. And how, sorry, last question, what's the distance between Jess and the closest wolf?
it was half a bow shot, so let's say 120 feet.
Oh, okay, great. Okay. Oh man. Let's do a chase scene. I think that's
So you run?
Yeah.
Okay, so the
she's
half a
got-
dozen wolves and the stranger will chase you, so it's going to be opposed con. It's going to be 3 opposed cons. If you succeed, you'll get to your party and the wolves won't close on you.
Excellent. So I've got 40 feet movement, just a couple of factors to consider. I've got 40 feet movement and I can cast the Long Strider spell to give myself an extra 10 feet movement for an hour. And that takes an action.
Okay. In that case, just from that mechanics alone, the half a dozen wolves around the alpha will you'll get they'll lose pace on you. You know, they'll fall behind.
Yeah.
But the dire wolf mechanic is 50-foot speed, the alpha, so he'll be able to keep up with you despite that.
Perfect.
Bearing a con save, like a contested con save.
Con save, righto.
So 15 for the first.
Oh my God. So first one for me was a nat 1.
And the second is a 21.
Second is a 21 for me as well.
Oh, nice. And the third is a 15.
Third is a 7.
So you guys hear Jessica cry out in pain as this wolf collides into her and will try and attack you, Jess, for an 18 on the die. So it's going to be, 23 to hit.
That'll do it.
9 piercing damage, and you need to make a DC 13 strength save or be pulled prone. At that, I'll get everyone's initiative.
Cool. Strength save fails, so I'm prone.
Yeah, so the wolves will be baying as they're sprinting after their interrupter under the follow of their alpha. They'll just simply move and dash to get within sight and smell now of where their alpha has caught you, Jessica, and ripped you down to the ground. But they probably fall away from our peripheral vision as the close Like the wolf looms close and obscures most else, slavering with its bloody maw over you for the kill.
Sorry, that brings it to Jess's turn.
Yep,
Excellent. Okay, so she will. So she's not prone, but she's not grappled, is she?
that's right. Yep.
Yeah. So she'll use half her movement to get up, so 25 feet, and she's still got 25 feet left. But it'll be attack of opportunity to move away, right? So
Mm-hmm.
how does her mobile feet work, real quick? Sorry, I should have had this open already. I remember the mobile feet helps with that. Okay. When I make a melee attack against the creature, I don't, no opportunity attacks from them for the rest of that turn. Cool. So half my movement to stand, I'll attack it. I don't think I even have to hit it. It just says when I make a melee attack against that creature. Yeah, whether you hit or not. Okay, cool. So I'll attack it and then run 25 feet. So actually, I would have had my bow in hand, so I guess I'll have to draw my short sword, which is an interesting interaction. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And
Cool.
slash with the short sword.
That's it, which only for an 11 to hit.
That misses, unfortunately.
That's all right. It's a distraction enough for her to move away another 25 feet.
Nice. You miss getting attacked for a 20 to hit. It snaps its jaw at your feet, but you've already legged it towards your companions, who you can like see bits of and certainly hear their horses and war call, or not war calls, but cries of alarm as they thunder through the undergrowth towards you. Oster is the first to appear. 60 feet from you is Jess. 85 feet from you is this blood-mouthed alpha sprinting after her. And 85 plus 60, 145, give or take, is like a wolf pack bearing down upon her.
That's Jess. Run, Lord! As I wheel my horse, and I'll move, and I'll try to. You said 60. My horse moves at 50. Correct?
I'm not sure of what particular horse you've got,
Oh,
but yeah.
just a standard, right? 60.
Okay, so yeah, 60.
Yeah, I would try to interpose myself between Jess and this dire wolf.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I will shoot it. Or it's not adjacent. You said it's 60 feet away from her? Or?
It was,
Or is it-
yeah, 25 feet away from Jez. So you could ride up, intersperse yourself between it, and because of the size of your own horse, you'd be 15 feet from it where you take your shot. Like near
Awesome.
point blank range.
Yeah, I do so. But a 4 will not see it done. As I'm sure the arrow goes wings. It's the wet ground. Get on, Jess, quickly.
Ronald.
Ronald will follow and like barrel his horse forwards, and then see that there's like many wolves, and be entirely amazed and confused. And whichever is closest to him, he's just going to try and impale with his spear.
Nice. Well, that would be the alpha, so you can move dash strike.
Okay. I have what you call it, the feet, but it's probably the same size as my horse, is it? Because it's if you get advantage on mounted combatant, I think it's like you.
Yeah, it's quite large. It's obviously not as large as a horse, but it's a large alpha, so it won't apply mechanically to this, but it does apply to the wolf pack.
Okay, yeah. I think it's like mechanically it's like a large creature, right? So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 19 on the die, which for me is a
Ooh,
crit.
baby. Nice.
Yep. So I'll and then just been waiting for this and practicing this movement for a long time, and then sort of stab in the saddle and smash the spear down into the wolf. So it's a lance. that'll be 16 points of damage.
Ooh. Let me see if that. Okay, so it doesn't bloody in one hit, so there's no system shock, but a percentile, please, my lord.
Yes, sir. Yeah, 48.
It doesn't really do much. It's one that like destroys an item on the person who's
Oh,
being
yeah.
hit. Actually, no. Rather than rewording, I'm just gonna say roll again.
Okay. 50.
The lance goes through the thing's mouth. It will never be able to speak or cast spells, of course. The injury to its face will heal if it receives magical healing, though. But yeah, it's just a lance through the mouth. There's no mechanical
Okay.
advantage for you guys from it.
Cool.
But it's badly wounded, nearly bloodied, as there's like a lance through its mouth.
Perfect. Yep. So yeah, I'll just boom, smash with that, and then await the response. I'll be bellowing for like men to come here and like tell them like wolves dismount, blah blah blah, and like calling out orders and that kind of thing.
He's going to. The wolf will like reel back, blood spurting out of its like speared mouth as it like lets free of itself from the lance, and then it will rush in and try and pull your horse down. It will bite Storm for a miss. He like steps aside and like snaps at the wolf with his own like teeth through the bit. You hear the crunch of horse teeth and like a defiant shriek from Storm underneath you as he rounds about and counsels the alpha wolf's attack. After that, it is Willem.
Yeah, Willem's gonna follow Ronald's charge in, also with his lance, and I'll strike at this wolf as well. 24 to hit.
Certainly.
What's the bonus on this? It's 11 damage.
Okay.
Bring
It's
the lance
bloodied
down.
now. Like the lance goes through its side and then like impales it before you like rip it out passing through. The wolf yelps and turns around, spiraling blood. It's very bloodied, nearly slain.
I'll stay on my horse.
At that, the wolf pack will like charge the defense of its wounded alpha. 3 of them will attack your horse, Willem, for a miss, a hit, and a miss. So your horse will take 6 piercing damage and has to make a DC 11 strength save or be pulled prone. And Ronald,
It was
2
19 on the dice for the horse.
Okay, so it's fine. It just gets bitten, but the wolf doesn't pull it down. And 2 wolves nip at the heels of Storm as well, Ronald, and hit.
Okay, I'll use my feet to take the damage instead of the horse.
Okay, I think that means because you take the damage, you take the effect as well. So 2 DC 11 strength saves to not be pulled out of the saddle.
Okay.
And you'll take 6 plus 11 plus 4 is 15 piercing damage to the legs.
Well, I'm glad it saved the horse. Yeah, I make both saves. I got a 13 and a 12, just barely, but yeah.
At that, Ton and Dirk will like ride from behind and like haul up their horses, raise their crossbows, and fire at the wolf pack for a miss and a hit. 15, 8 system shock. One of the wolves is struck by a quarrel, mortally wounded and stunned as they begin like calling out encouragement to their lords. After the wolf pack, it is Jessica.
Jez will jump up onto Oster's horse as he called out to her. I guess for some of her movement, half her movement maybe.
Yep.
And I should quickly put her sword back in its scabbard before doing that, and get up and then with her bow still in hand, draw an arrow and mark, using a hunter's mark the alpha using a bonus action, and
Sure.
draw and release an arrow.
I'm not going to give you disadvantage, but I'm going to give you a -2 to hit for firing a bow double back on a horse. But go for it.
Yeah, no worries. -2 is fair. Don't think this gives me advantage, no, just extra damage. So that'll be 21 to hit.
Still a hit.
Oh, sorry, 19. That's 19
Yep.
with the -2. Yep, cool. All right, so 2d8 and a d6 for damage because of various things.
Oh, you better get ready to describe the death of the alpha.
Yeah, so +3. Okay, so roll kind of 11. That's 11 damage.
Yeah, what happens to it?
So just after it's skewered in the mouth by Ronald's lance, I think Jess's arrow comes in and gets it in the belly, like in the side, and just kind of punctures it, and it just yelps and I guess tries to flee a little bit, like back towards one of its pack members or something. Maybe sort of snarls and bites at that a bit in reaction, before sort of bleeding out.
Grim. Oster, then Ronald.
Yeah, seeing Jess, though her arrow hit its mark, I can see her having some difficulty shooting from horseback with me on it. I ride towards Dirk and Tonk, where I will dismount. Here, take my horse. You're better at riding than me, anyways. And from that, I'll take out my horn and blow warning for the rest of our retinue.
Yeah, a couple of moments later, it will be answered by a return call, which will tell you that they're inbound. Ronald, there's a stunned wolf with a quarrel in its rear next to you, and on the other side, there's 2 wolves nipping at Storm's heels.
Yeah, I'll turn to strike at the ones who are trying to hit my very valuable horse. Let me see if there's any. Yeah, okay. 18 to hit for the first.
Certainly.
I'm going to action surge and attack the. Well, actually, I might just do the damage first.
Yeah, just in case your system shot.
Yeah, it's 12 damage.
Okay, that kills it.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, then I will action surge and try and attack the other one.
Okay.
16.
That hits.
14 damage.
Yeah, you slash its throat and it dies, choking on blood. 2 of the wolf pack are down, so there's 4 left, one of which is stunned. So 3 are active on you, Willem. 1 stunned, 1 is on you, Ronald.
The one that's stunned is on me, right?
Yep. Yeah,
Okay.
That's right.
So I can move away from it, it won't attack.
Yep, that's right.
Alright, so I'll do that. I'll move back in the direction wherever Jess and Oster are. And hopefully to like the safety of our men. But yeah. Ooh, as an interaction, I'll pull the spear out of the dead wolf as well.
Rad. Yeah, Ton and Dirk are riding towards you, and they'll haul up as you get past them and begin like hauling the winch on their crossbows so that they can fire into the wolves. I think they'd rather just shoot them than fight them in melee, just in case their horses get wolf bit. Then they'll like cover your line. You're no longer in any danger. The stranger dies, and it's Willem's turn.
I'm just going to strike down, just staying where I am. Strike at one of these 3 around me. It's 22.
It's a hit.
Oh, 14 damage.
Yeah.
The lance.
You stab it through the chest, and it dies whimpering. There's still 2 on your horse, though.
Yeah, I'm just going to remain where I am, shouting out. I'll wheel around to see what everyone else is doing.
Ton and Dirk will let fly with their quarrels for a hit and a miss. And the hit will be 9. which is system shock, which is disadvantage. Oh, so there's only 3 wolves left anyway, and 2 of them are very badly wounded, nearly slain. So at this point, once the alpha and 3 of the wolf pack are dead, the other 3 flee for their lives. So you'll get an opportunity of attack, Willem. And Jessica, you'll get not an opportunity of attack, but I'll let you fire off a bow before the wolves scatter into the undergrowth if you want as they begin to flee.
It's 12 to hit from Willem.
I think that's just a hit for one of the. No, just a miss.
10 to hit for Jess, so miss.
That's a miss. But there's 2 very badly wounded wolves and 1 unhit wolf that flee at this stage, and that's about the same time that the rest of your retinue, bar the wagon driver, of course, who couldn't come into this kind of terrain, like ride or run up into your midst. They'll move over and finish off a yowling wolf, and one of the men will like set down to like skinning the wolves.
Yeah, I'll like sort of roll my shoulder a little bit and like feel the pain there from when like I had been, or my leg actually, where I've been bitten, and like look down and sort of like pull my breeches, like the strap a little tighter on the greave, to stop the bleeding from being quite so heavy. I don't want to distract at the moment, and it's not like fatal. I want to make sure everyone else is okay, so I'll like go over to Jess and Oster and see what happened.
Oh, it bit me on my leg.
Let me see.
Will it be okay? She
How
says
many-
as she rolls up her leg sleeve.
How many, like mechanically, how far are you down?
I'm on 19 out of 28. It only took me.
You're at 19 out of 28?
Mechanically, I'm fine.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I figured. I say, I look at you like, you'll be fine. A scar, but otherwise. Says, I'll treat it. Sit over there. I have to check on Ronald. Don't try to hot it, Ronald.
It's nothing. He's just bitten.
You know we go south to watch you in glorious combat, right?
All right, he'll say, and he'll like undo the belt that like holds the greave in place, and so with the second wind, I'm actually not in that bad shape anymore. I'm only down 6. I did take 15, but then I gained 9 with the second wind.
Yeah, after examining it, I'd be like, oh, okay. No, you are right this time.
Yeah, don't feel
the-
pretty smug about that.
After the servants and guards have like seen to that kind of stuff, it allows you guys to move from where like Jessica had been chased by the wolves, and you can see where these 5 men have been feasted upon by crow and wolf alike, and nearby the bloated corpse of the horse.
Can we gather anything about them that Jessica couldn't?
With you've got the mad passive perception, right?
No, you might be thinking of Dillian.
I would think I am. Yeah, make a perception check.
I've got 3 in it. It's 16.
Apart from being like eyeless and lipless and like savaged at in the belly by wolves, these men are all kind of tall, stout, healthy, and strong looking, but for the fact that they are feasted upon. Crouching down, you can see that many of them have calloused, strong, like wide hands and developed leg muscles, those that haven't been pillaged by the carrion.
Would that denote
None
like
of the
riding
eyes, none
experience?
of the eyelids. Sorry?
Would that denote like riding experience?
No, more like marching
Mm.
or like physical health. They're not bandy-legged, they're just like muscular-legged.
Fit man.
Soldiers, perhaps.
Hmm.
Looking around their hands and forearms and biceps, there's no slashes on them like there are wolf bites on them, but there's no defensive wounds on them.
How long have these men been dead, Oster?
Yeah, I go to examining them. Is it
Give me a medicine check.
yes. 14 on the dice, so 18.
Several days, 3 to 4 days is what you'd estimate. It looks like from like minor nicks and wounds upon them that these men have seen fighting action in the days leading up to their death, but were killed without defense, which would tell you they were taken unawares or killed in their sleep.
So,
Poring
like,
over the
precise
bodies,
strikes.
yeah, you notice that one of them has a blade in a scabbard that his body is kind of slumped over, that hasn't been taken like presumably the other loot has, because these men are largely stripped of armor and weapons, even though you're pretty sure they look like warriors. The blade shows no sign of recent use, or if it did have recent use, it was cleaned thereafter. It's still in its scabbard, which is dried with the eyeless and lipless man's blood. It's not a valuable looking sword, though well crafted enough, and the emblem on the hilt is that of a stag.
Hmm.
What has taken their eyes and lips, Oster? Crows, perhaps?
That or grim trophies. These men were killed in their sleep, or at least
Very
unaware. And this, a dagger bearing a semblance of a stag.
Hmm.
I doubt this would be left so casually behind.
Baratheon?
It was not seen.
Is it a stag with a crown, Nico, or is it just a stag?
Just a stag.
Okay.
And it was a dagger, yeah, not a sword.
No, a sword.
It was a sword, yeah.
Hard to miss for looters. Who is this? Whose house is the stag? It's surely not Baratheon.
I got a 15 history.
So the House Hart has a stag helm, and
course.
House Baratheon, of course, has a stag sigil. And then there's another house whose name I can't recall, but their seat is Antlers in the Crownlands, and they have a stag on their sigil.
Okay.
Well, I look Ronald right in the eye. There has been banditry in this area.
Yes, an unusually a heavy amount of banditry. This looks strangely targeted and cruel. This to mutilate the corpses, it seems excessive.
Is that my understanding? I examined the wound for like the lips and stuff, as if like
That's from the crows. Or the
Oh,
It's
it's
wolves.
crows,
some-
okay.
it is okay, not trophies. Excellent.
Okay.
If the only wounds are from the wolves, what killed them? And how do you know it was in their sleep?
Why would they leave the sword if it was a theft?
Well, it's certainly not battle. Look, and I like showed this is a precise cut right there.
And there are not enough trophies. Surely they have been looted.
Why would
and
they
this
leave the
left
sword?
for some reason?
So valuable.
A mistake, perhaps.
Or an accusation or a distraction?
Yes, maybe it was placed.
How
Purpose.
far off the road is this?
A very short ride.
And the horse, can we shift it over to examine the other side of it?
Yeah, Jess would have asked for help with that once.
Yeah, with all your men, you could.
Does it look like the horse was like led away from where those men were and then killed?
No, it looks like it was slashed on the belly and ran away from the side of the slaughter and then succumbed to its wounds.
Jessica, come examine the ground around here again with me. And can I give Jess advantage on like help her, like do a survival or whatever you'd like to do for examining the sort of battlefield see if they've been dragged
Sure.
here, the bodies, or
Yeah, there'll be a, I'd say investigation check, but you'll have advantage, Jess.
Excellent. Okay, that's only 7 with advantage.
Yeah, you can only offer conjecture to add to Oster's.
have muddied the sight with our own prince.
I don't think those men would have been sleeping without any equipment, even if this was not banditry. Things have been taken, but that perhaps they were camping in that copse, set upon and killed during their sleep. The horse gutted and fled before it could die, and all of their effects taken except for this sword. Master Hallis always says, try and chase 2 rabbits and you'll catch none. You have to focus your chase on one target. Maybe someone is trying to focus people's attention on whoever this sword belongs to.
And what is the goal of making up that a band of stag emblem bearing men were killed in the woods?
I don't know. I don't know. But it's very odd. Because, Nico, was the sword like hidden or like kind of obviously out of the way, or was it?
Yeah, like the dude died, like had his throat slit and rolled over, clutching at his throat, and died with his belly covering the blade. And
Yeah,
to the
okay.
back, it just looks like a belt. When you pull him over, it's actually a sword belt.
So he was like hiding, like he fell in a manner that it would like concealed the blade, I guess. Is that?
Yeah.
Inadvertently,
Like if you imagine a
perhaps.
man sleeping with his blade strapped to him, having his throat slit, and then trying to sit upright and free himself, and then just kind of falling over. And
Are
he's
there
like, bolt.
gutted?
It was
Oh, go ahead. Sorry. Is there like gutted fires or like remnants of like tents that have been pulled up, like flattened grass?
Yeah, it definitely looks like a campsite. There's like switches of willow and like branches that have been hauled up into like lean-tos or whatever. Not like a proper like soldierly camp like you guys would have when you unpack for the night. But yeah, it's like it was a camp that you can see like where the bed of a fire was and where like somewhere was used as a latrine, etc.
Perhaps we won't have any answers until we get to the capital and start asking questions about this sword.
How far are we from Heartlands?
Yeah, it's got to be Hart, right? That's what Ronald is thinking.
Heartlands are well to the east of here, northeast of here. You're like a couple of days south right of Pine Hedge, which was due west of Helmcrest, sorry. So yeah, it's a fair way from here.
So it wouldn't be in the realm of possibility that a Heart patrol would be foraging this far.
They wouldn't legally be doing so.
Legally be doing so.
It looks like this is a setup. Someone wants to blame House Hart for this attack. And I don't know why or who, but that's what it looks like to me.
Or were they Hart men? If this sword belonged to one of the victims.
That's possible too.
Why would they be foraging so far from Helmcrest?
Perhaps that's what their killers asked as well.
Why not take the sword? If you're killing them because they're on your land, then you want proof that they're Heartmen, then you take the sword. And if you're a bandit, then you take it because it's valuable. Why leave it?
She gestures to the other corpses. Many soldiers, but only one sword left, brother.
This was
Others
probably
were
done at
taken.
night.
I think this one was simply missed.
I'm not
accidentally
in
left behind.
I'm not so sure. It just seems unusual to me that a sword, any sword, is valuable, and this one looks to be castle forged, and be left here.
Surely not on purpose. It may have just been overlooked. One of the
Perhaps
searchers
there
thought
is.
someone else had strip searched that body and
Hmm.
it was missed. Or in the dark, as Oster says.
I suppose. Just strikes me as odd.
It is all very odd, yes.
Or maybe it's between those two options, and maybe someone wants people to believe that the victims were heart men, even though they weren't. Try and rouse the bear, or rouse the stag into a retaliation against an obvious enemy, even if it wasn't them.
Who is their obvious
But they're-
enemy?
Yes.
They just threw a huge wedding.
Bandits?
That's
This
where
may
we
be
were.
out.
Weren't we at the Hearts castle for the wedding just recently?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would this be out of the possibility of my contacts? Would I know of the any strife between Hart and its neighbors?
Not to your knowing.
This definitely is a mystery, but I feel it's a mystery that should be left unsolved by us.
Yes. Well, we're friendly with House Hart, and we'll see them at the festival and the wedding. And I can speak with his name escapes me. What was his name? Malister? No. The guy I got to be mates with at the wedding, who got married.
Kevin Manning.
Manning, yeah. We could talk to him if he's here about if some of his boys are missing or something has happened, and try and piece something together.
Could we send a man to House Hart to have these bodies taken? Perhaps could be identified.
Yes.
Hmm.
It'll be a few days, and I'm sure there'll be more wolves.
Yes.
Do any of them I look at them and I look at their features. Do any of them? Do I recall any of their faces while I
No.
was at helm? No. Okay.
You
That
might
would be
see
too
a
easy.
tattoo on one, or
Hmm.
a missing finger on another, or some idiot peculiarities like that, but none of them that ring a bell to you.
Gotcha. This is just stabbing in the dark, I believe.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yes. Fear we shall have to leave it
Yeah.
a mystery.
Well, let's take the sword. And if I guess we'll look at, or take a quick look and see if any of them have anything obvious, like you say, like a tattoo or something that you could
Mm-hmm.
identify them with, so we can say it to someone who might know. Take note of that kind of. Yeah, and I guess then we get on our way.
You can move on south down the King's Road after the bloody business and find a new campsite and rest there unabated through the night. The next day sees fine summer travelling, and you're rewarded by your toil on the roads inside of Dag's Inn, and there are horses stabled out the front of it and children playing out the front, and just the movement of folk generally about the moderately sized double-story inn. And the men with you and the wain driver and the other servants seem much glad to be the prospect of staying at this inn than camping at Rough like they have over the last days of passage. You're a day or so's ride east of Harrenhal, and this is old Crownlands land. The inn before you is typical and has a main tap room around a hearth. There's a kitchen out back and rooms for the guests, which are upstairs and in the loft. Most of the inn's patrons would be travellers who'd stay overnight as they trek the long King's Road. There are regulars, as all places and tap rooms like this have, and there are some people here for an occasional meal. There are mugs of ale which are being drafted and poured out for the patrons about in here. though there's still some space at the benches or seats, which would tell you that there's rooms perhaps in the offing. It's nothing to write home about, but it's reasonably clean and the food looks decent, what you see being passed around. There's a large man with black hair, a broke looking nose, and like the bulk or girth of a man who looks like he was once muscled but now has grown sallow. And with a wary, like appraising look, he looks at your retinue head to toe. His eyes linger on the tabardry that Ronald, at least, and maybe Willem would sport of the Swan of House Grail, and his face would darken. Good eve, my lords. We'll have no trouble here, if you please. I'll not shame you for asking for your swords, but I will ask you not to draw them, as I've known Grail want to.
Excuse me?
I am Dag, sir. This is my house, and every man is lord of his own house. Those are my terms if you wish for my roof or my drink, and you will have to abide them, my lord.
He like looks sort of shocked and like looks at Willem.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, Willem's returning like doesn't. Yeah, not sure what he means.
why are you concerned with House Grail?
We've ears, as all folk do on the road.
And what is
Not
House
all we
Grail
hear is
done?
good for your health. It's not my place to say, my lord, and I wish not to be brought up in your affairs.
You will say it.
Give me an intimidation check.
Because I have this fancy sword and I'm a weapon master, I have advantage on intimidation checks.
Nice.
So I'll just, like, I won't even put my hand on it, but I'll sort of, like, move it slightly in that direction.
Shift.
You know? Okay, so 16 on the die plus...
Certainly. Lord Dannet and his men, they came through it after dawn the day before. They'd said of your raid upon their lands, the murder and strife you'd sown, and now they'll seek justice for it at the tourney, my lord. But I'm only saying what you've asked me and what I've heard. No other prattle, lord, I swear.
Lord who?
And he starts looking nervous. Dannet. Lord Adam Dannet he were who wished satisfaction. Aye, take your quarrel with him and leave me husband be, says the equally fat Meg Moleskin,
Be quiet.
standing behind her husband. She look she's about to protest, but a quick eye from Ton and Dirk tell her that would be most foolish. By now, a lot of the chatter has stopped and people are looking about. And Willem, you can, I guess, not so ferociously engaged or focused in the conversation. Yeah. You can see that people are kind of looking nervously about, and there's a few kind of murmuring to each other like, "Oh, that's that Grail lot, see, causing more mischief."
Yeah, Willem like puts his hands out in a like, calm down gesture and says, "Fear not, good people. There is no. Your fear is ill-placed, and there is nothing to be sorry about for merely telling us rumors or gossip. But we are unaware of these."
I don't mean you any harm, but there was no raid by House Grail. This is not the truth, and to arrive
as you
here,
say, sir. Oh yes.
To arrive here and hear it as if our men have done something is alarming.
Yes, and we would be interested to get to the bottom of these rumors. Ronald, do you know of this lord?
First
Where
of
are
all,
his lands?
he'll like put his hands up and say, first of all, and he'll like show some gold and like hand it and say, for your trouble, didn't mean to cause any, and like buy around for the inn and like dinner, I guess, with a gold piece.
And rooms.
Yeah,
and
rooms,
your horses
yes.
into, and like your own quarters.
Yeah.
And anything.
Yeah, so just basically sort of try and calm people down and have us not like, because now he's thinking a little bit, and then he'll say, if you don't mind, innkeeper, while we eat, would you explain to us what has happened here? There has been some sort of slander made against us. We did not command any raid. I am the Lord of House Grail. There was no raid commanded.
Oh, as you say, Lord. Well, it's just that me and Meg here and our servants, young Colin, our grandson, and Gianna, the maid, we all saw it. Dannet came in, red as a pomegranate on his sigil, Lord, pierced by an arrow it is. That's the sign of his forebears. And he was brandishing your own, and he taps your like tabardry, like your symbol, on a bloody shield, and crying murder and for satisfaction at your house. I did not disparage him or or ask anything on the matter, Lord, not wanting to be involved, as you see.
There is nothing wrong with listening to the man's prattle.
There was no such raid, and I swear it by the Father, I commanded no such thing.
Yes,
Okay.
of course, my lord.
He'll pay for these lies. Danet, you say? Pomegranate?
Aye, a pomegranate pierced with an arrow, that's their sigil, lordship.
Huh. Why?
So strange. And how had they come upon a shield of our house?
Well,
Strange indeed. When did you say this was, good innkeeper?
Day before yesterday, just after dawn. They stayed to rest their horses and drink and eat, but they did not stay the night. The Lord, he turned sidelong at Ronald, the Lord claimed he would ride hard to the Red Keep and ask for Robert Baratheon's satisfaction on the matter.
I'll give him satisfaction.
Well, as you say, my lord.
You got a good look at these men? And I
Aye.
try to pick out like the most distinct feature of the the guys that we found on the road, and I say, does him look like this, or that, or bear a mark?
No, it doesn't ring a bell or anything like that. When you describe one man's tattoo, the guy with the missing ring finger, a portly, drunk-looking fellow who could have been a knight in a different light, in a different life, steps up. It were Arthur Stone you talk of, with that image and his finger missing. Drank with him here, a week back. Decent fella, he were. And Dag looks to the man and then looks to you. There you have it, Lord.
And
There's a
this-
smash as like a bowl shatters on the ground and a tray hits the ground, bouncing. 2 mugs of mead go spilling the froth everywhere, and dogs run from their like bone piles to lap up and fight over the spilt drink and food. And there's this like shocked face of a teenage serving wench. She eyes the sword that one of your men clasped, the antlered sword. She puts her hands up to her mouth as if she might scream.
Ronald like looks in her direction. There's nothing to worry about. I'll pay for more ale. He sort of like waves away as if it's new, like as if that's what she's worried about.
Yeah, Willem says, no, girl, you recognize this? He'll walk over to the soldier carrying it, gesture at the sword.
Tears fill her eyes and she kind of looks speechless and like stutters a little bit, and Dag will step up to her. Speak, Gianna. Speak to these men. Oh, my lord. That were Terence's blade. How came you by it? Tell me true.
Terence, I say, and like try to describe the body, like the man that we'd found it on.
Yeah, she puts her hands up over her face, commences to sobbing the more like kind of telltale details you give of him.
Don't mention the missing lips or anything. Yeah, I look to Ronald and Oster, Jessica.
Dag looks angry about this, but he won't say anything.
I'm sorry, girl. We came upon them on the road.
They were dead.
Him and his
Murdered,
party.
crow-pecked and wolf-picked, she like laments.
Well,
And Dag looks conflicted.
we'll see them buried, and you can have the sword.
Thank you, Lordship. She remembers her apologies. And we'll reach forward to take the blade. He said that Stannis Baratheon wielded this blade during the War of the Usurper. And my Terence always said that they crowned the wrong stag. And that's why he bore this blade. gifted to him by Stennis at the siege of Storm's End. She sniffles as she eyes the blade.
I mean, that smells like utter horseshit to me. That he would be hanging out in this inn if he had been given a sword by Stannis Baratheon, but he won't say anything to...
5 years of peace can be hard on a warrior.
Yeah,
True.
I suppose.
What of his party? Good lady.
He took up with
Woman.
men. There were a group of them, half a dozen or so. Under a knight, he was looking for soldiers. He wore a tabard of white and orange. He had a fox head blazoned upon the shield that he sported.
And he took...
Terence said he was taking up with him, that he'd be paid in silver for his trouble.
And also this Stone. What was his name? The other guy who just talked about the guy with the tattoo. What was his name? Something Stone.
Arthur Stone.
Yeah. He went with him as well this night.
She doesn't know that man, but the drunkard overhearing you, will lumber up and interject himself. Aye, he was picked where I was not. The fox-eyes measure was too high for a man. And how can he expect a warrior to be honest if he can't drink, eh?
You're lucky.
He would not have me, but he had Stone.
Those men were killed, all of them. Were there more from here that went?
Aye, Terence Storm, Arthur Stone, and 3 others or so. They answered the call for this night. Arche calls himself. Sir Arche. He had those men. Said he would pay them for their swords. But he would not have me, the bastard.
Is this Night of the Hedges?
He had the hedgy look about him, Lord. But there's nothing wrong with sleeping in ditches for an honest life's work. He straightens his shirt. It's wine spattered.
I didn't mean any insult, I just mean, is he of a house or no?
He sported colours, Lord, white and orange, a fox on his shield. I do not know the house.
How many men went with him from here?
5, though he had 3 of his own with him while he stayed here some weeks back. I found the place to my liking. The mead is good, and so I stayed. Though I'm short of coin if your lords are looking to hire work.
House Florin bears up a fox's sigil.
We were no Florent fox, my lord. It were neither of them. Not fancy enough by a half. You could roll a history check if you wanted.
17.
23.
Maester Grubrecht's prattling serves you for once. Arche. You've heard of House Arche. They were friends with that side of the family you're not supposed to speak about, who sided with the Targaryens in the War of the Usurper. House Arche supported the Targaryens. They were destroyed by the Tyrells in the War of the Usurper, exiled and stripped of their lands.
Okay.
How many corpses did we find there, Nico?
5.
Fuck.
I described the men. These are the
Yeah.
men we found.
The man who introduces himself as Garth the Barrel kind of nods loosely that these could be the men that he saw leave with this Fox Knight.
If they have family or friends, tell them. So they can honor their dead.
I cannot claim to know their family, Lord, but if I do, I shall.
I'll speak a little bit lower just to the party and say, did this Fox Knight and his 3 men murder the 5 they took from here in their sleep? This is what seems to be the case.
And then
I do
blamed
such
it
a
on
thing.
us? Confusing.
Blamed it on us. This was not the same man, was it? It's not the pomegranate.
Well, it could be him that killed them.
Maybe. Why was not the Fox Knight and his 3 men? Why were their bodies not among the slain?
Ronald like rubs his forehead and pinches his nose. Just wants to go jousting, you know?
Yeah. What a fucking day.
And he can't figure it out, and he's rubbing his temples, and looks up at you, Willem, with this look of I just want to go to bed.
Let us discuss this in private, my lord.
Yes, that might be best.
Can I take the temperature of the room? Do you feel like I feel like it's shifted away from us? Has it shifted back towards us in a positive fashion, or I just don't want I want to
it's
stamp out
just
the
less fear.
rumors from spreading.
Yeah, the gold speaks, like buying everyone food and drink. People are soon forgetting the vicious rumors and now praising Swan Song for, what essentially is quite an exorbitant shout.
Yeah, I would instruct the men to help around here if possible. If anything needs minor chores or whatnot, just to,
They will.
Yeah.
Yeah, buy them huge meals as well. Maybe not heaps of booze, but get them well fed.
Colin Moleskin, the grandson of Dag and Meg, will just watch you tirelessly, Willem, wide-eyed like he's looking at Lancelot. And
It's going to be a
Garth,
night, says Jess, coming over and saying that to the boy, looking at Willem.
I would love to be a knight one day. House Moleskin, he says, bright-eyed.
Yes, as would I. Love to be a knight. One day.
You are a knight. You have a sword and you have mail, lord.
There is 1 or 2 things more than that. Anyone can have a sword and mail.
Not everyone, he says, and puts his lip out. You can see one of his toes poking through the shoe. His granddad will come and set him off to his duties and inform you that your room's prepared and that there's more food and drink up there and your clothes will be pressed. And pretty much anything servantly that you might need doing, they'll do for the gold dragon that Lord Ronald put over. And that might be a good place to leave the session, I think, for our mark.
Yeah.
As night falls on Dag's Inn with head scratching and bridge of nose pinching.
Yes, so much of that.